Hold on to your mug. We're in for a wild night.
Greeting, traveler.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Born to be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host, Nate Wolf. It's good to be back as always on this Black Friday. Some good Steam sales going on. Don't spend all your Christmas money. Of course, joined by two of my favorite people. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's just Friday to me.
Are you waiting all day for that?
For what?
Never mind. Hi, Darlisk, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It's good. It's Friday. It's been a very long work week for me, and I'm just super stoked. I always look forward to relaxing and hanging out with my buds and talking some Hearthstone.
Yeah, it's a blast. Hey, so we got a really special guest joining us tonight. Someone that is a monthly Wild Legendary Hearthstone player and a very active member of our Discord. Always embarrassed to say his name out loud, but very happy to welcome to this to the show. SchmoopieDaddy, welcome.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here. Big fan of the podcast. It's like a staple of like my Sunday night doing dishes routine. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing next Sunday. I have no idea.
You can listen to this and just recall all the stuff that went wrong before we started recording, and it's great to have you on, though.
I don't know about you, but when you listen to it with yourself on it, let me know if you like listening to yourself or not.
It's always really weird to listen to your own voice on a recording. It's like, is that what I really sound like? I sound like such a weirdo.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I used to listen to the podcast like all the time, and then I got on it and I listened to the first couple episodes, and I'm like, I don't want to listen to it anymore. So we're definitely down like one viewer / listener, and that's me.
Make it two.
Since I teach, I can listen to myself talk for a long time, but I'm not sure if I want to hear myself talk about stuff I already know about Secret Mage for 2 hours. I don't know if that's going to be part of the Sunday night routine.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to find something else for you to do for a little while.
It probably will be like for the first appearance. You're going to want to listen to it.
100%.
So a question for you. A lot of times the folks that we have on the show, we know them from other podcasts, we know them from streaming, we know them from the ladder or whatever. And I met you through our Discord. So I'm just out of curiosity, like, how did you stumble upon us?
So when quarantine kind of struck, Hearthstone kind of became like, I was, we're teaching from home, but it was asynchronous. I wasn't, in front of students every day. So it was kind of like set and forget. So I was playing more Hearthstone. And since I was playing more Hearthstone and I was stuck home, I started kind of like doing a little bit more research as far as like, other places where I could get content, because I'd be watching Raffle videos every day. But then I started showing up on, I discovered Twitch. I started showing up to streams. I hang out, a lot with like Swaguar and his streams.
Yeah.
Catch his channel. And then I started like hearing about podcasts. I'm like, oh, I could listen to some podcasts about Wild Hearthstone. So I actually found the Hearthstoners before you guys.
We can forgive you. That's okay.
They are our big brother, right?
They are our big brother. And they're good friends of ours too. So that's fine.
And then I found you guys.
Naturally, you clicked on that one, though. Their name is clickbait already, right? It's called the Hearthstoner, so you're going to click on that one.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And then so basically I came to hear the discussion about Hearthstone, and I stayed because you guys are also a bunch of nerd dads. So like that's totally my lane.
Totally nerd dads.
Oh, God, that's so true. I guess that's we found our niche, right?
Oh, 100%. And I think you guys have slowly indoctrinated me into the whale club. I'm not full like white whale yet. I think I'm like a beluga, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
I apologize. It's an expensive habit. There is something to be said about your MMR and your win rate increasing with golden cards. Though I swear, that's the unofficial truth.
And your RNG. If you're
And your RNG, yeah.
I'm gonna quote Trips. If you have a golden Leroy, you will draw it when you need it.
Yeah, that's like Jedi speak right there.
As a physics teacher, I can attest that the density of the golden card will actually have something to do with its physical property within the deck. So yeah, absolutely, 100% checks out.
I heard the words density and property. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, let's go with that. Agreed.
Oh God, that's good. So hey, we just to get to know you a little bit better. How long you been playing Hearthstone? What got you into it, and like why wild over standard?
Sure. So I actually first started playing Hearthstone in 2018 around Halloween time because I picked it up from, believe it or not, a student in my class who wasn't doing any work. He was just on his phone the whole time. So when I have students that are like that, I do what I usually do, which is I sneak up behind them and I see what they're doing on their phone. And I stand there for a while and I don't say anything. And then when they finally notice me, I start conversations about it. He's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a fun game. And it looked like something I'd get into. So I was just like, all right, it's one of my kids that doesn't really do anything. I want to kind of get to know him better, maybe so I can, talk to him about the game.
So you confiscated the phone and then you played it behind your desk.
Yeah, no, you don't touch other students' property. That's
Yeah.
That's asking for a rap sheet. No. So
not these days, yeah.
Yeah, it happened to us.
But I'll do stuff like that just to kind of like I'll pick up a game or something like that just to have something to talk to them about, to build a rapport, so that like I'm like the cool teacher that I get the kids who don't normally do anything do half of something, and that's better than anybody else. So like that's kind of part of my motivating factor. I got into it in 2018. I think why wild, just because it's just so unrestricted and degenerate and just kind of like absurd. And Cthulhu, there was no Cthulhu in standard. And kind of once you get the bug for wild, you just kind of stay in wild, just because the power level is so crazy, the swings are so crazy, the tempo is nuts. I think it's just much more fun.
Getting into wild, I've got a good question for you, because a lot of newer players like these days will be discouraged from getting into wild because they're told it's too expensive, there's too many cards. But getting into the game about 2 years ago and choosing wild, how did it feel for you to get the staples, like your Kazakus and your Reno Jacksons and like all that kind of stuff? Like, was it difficult? Was it as hard as they say? Was it expensive as they say? Or did you find it not so bad because these cards are eternal, sort of thing? Like, how did that go for you?
So I think the strategy I used that I would totally suggest to anybody else would be, like, especially if you're learning the game but you still want to get into wild, find a good aggro deck and just get good at it. I jammed Mech Mage. I jammed Mech Hunter for like that was my get to rank 5 deck for probably a year. Like, I started as a Murloc Shaman, but that kind of like, I was playing the quest and like Rise of Shadows came out and I got some new tools, but it was just never as fast as Mech Hunters. So like I just picked up Mech Hunter and jammed Mech Hunter. I actually have like as many wins as I have with Mage. I think I've got 1,400 wins with Mage. I've got like 1,600 with Hunter. So I was just always jamming that deck. And you get to learn the card profiles playing that way. You get to learn patterns. You learn to hate Big Priest, but then you learn to beat Big Priest. So like it's just you go through this development, and it's just a slow structure. It's a grind, and if you enjoy the grind, it's great. Eventually, you pick up those cards and you start being able to play those cards.
When people ask me about wild, also when they're looking for a deck to start with or thinking about getting into wild for the first time, it's very often that I will recommend Secret Mage, because typically the deck only runs one legend, so it's relatively low dust cost. And it was funny because we were looking at, I was looking at decks from 2017 Secret Mage, and half the cards are the same as they are right now. So over the years, like it really don't change that much. And for any given deck in wild, every new expansion, an existing deck will change by 2 to 3 cards that we'll try out, and then a lot of times we go back to what it was before, and only 1 or 2 cards are good enough to make the cut because our decks are so refined. So honestly, I don't think it's that expensive as people think it is. So it's interesting. Also, I think Secret Mage, at least to get the hang of the deck, is relatively straightforward. You know, like if someone's just getting into the game or just getting into Wild, like I wouldn't go say, go play Cube Luck, go play Reno Luck, go play Reno Priest. Like there's just so many decisions to be made in some of those decks, and I think this one, not that it's easy, but that it's a relatively straightforward game plan. And,
I think you can
So,
kind of
hey,
play it.
can I say something real quick?
yeah, of
So,
course.
To add to what Nate's saying, to make it sound a little, not that it sounded bad, but to put more sense to people who might think that sounds bad. It's easier to recommend this to newer players than Cube Block or something else, based on I don't ever play defensive as Secret Mage. So that's what I take from what Nate is saying. There are decisions to make in Secret Mage, but I've never spent, like 8 out of 10 games playing defensively. Like it's more aggressive. So in the end, like the ultimate goal is to go face, and but we have an expert here tonight to discuss the ins and outs of different matchups. But that's what I took from what Nate was saying, just in case some people took that as like, oh, Secret Mage is just boring, because there's some people who get really defensive. So
I appreciate that, and I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
I guess.
No, I got you. Yeah.
I think that a lot of people play Secret Mage for the first time improperly as an aggro deck. Fireball on 4 to face is just categorically incorrect, like 90-95% of the time, unless it's a Dark Glare and like they're on 5 and they've just very nicely like wrapped up a Fireball to their face for you. Like that's, but it's one of those decks where you can kind of just, it's so strong you can kind of get away with sort of misplaying when you play secrets and just throwing minions down, and it's so disruptive that like you'll kind of like win on accident playing it kind of like as an aggro deck. It's like one of the reasons why I never liked Voracious Reader in the deck, just because like you don't play it like an aggro deck. Like I sit on some secrets for turns waiting for the right time to play it, the right timing, because I know I want to block this spell or I want to blow up this minion when it comes down. So, it never made sense to have that kind of minion in there. That's because you always have more than 3 cards in hand, but some people play it
we're talking about the deck a little too much because we're talking about that later.
We'll get there. There.
We got an interview still. I want to know the whole origin of SchmoopieDaddy's name.
Me too.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so my wife and I possess perhaps the worst baby book ever written in the history of mankind. It was like from like 2007. It was a hand-me-down from her sister. She was pregnant with our first, and we were looking through names, and I'm driving the car, and how somebody's reading something, and then you hear that like snort laughter, and they got something good. And I'm like, babe, what? And she's like, what about Schmoopie? Unironically, it was one of the options in the baby book name. What? So I was like, yes, that's the one. My wife being my wife knew I was kidding, but that became my son's nickname in the womb until he was born. Fast forward to October of 2018, my little guy's a lump on the floor because he's like 5 months old or whatever. And I'm signing up for this game, and I've got a couple gamer tags that I've used a couple times over and over and over again since I was in high school. And I was like, let me do something different this time. What about SchmoopieDaddy? So I sign up and I'm SchmoopieDaddy. So I'm Schmoopie's daddy.
Got it. Okay.
So that's a real name in a real baby book?
It was a real name in a real baby book.
That is insane to me. So like that's a Seinfeld joke, correct? Schmoopie?
It might be. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
All right, so what theater you want to go to tonight? We got 61st and 3rd or 84th and Broadway.
Which one you want to go to, Schmoopie?
You called me Schmoopie. You're Schmoopie.
You're Schmoopie.
You're Schmoopie.
You're Schmoopie.
All right, Schmoopies. What's it going to be? Pick a theater.
We'll go to 3rd Avenue. So can you come with us for lunch to the soup place?
No, you have a good lunch. I'll meet you back here for the movie. Hey. Hi, Lane. Hi, Sheila.
All right, then I'll see you later.
Bye, Schmoopie.
Bye, Schmoopie.
Okay. We ready to go?
Yes, please, let's go.
I also heard on the radio recently that the name Seven has become really popular for babies, and that's also a Seinfeld joke because George wanted to name a baby Seven as a joke, and apparently that has also become a thing in books, and people are actually naming their baby Seven.
Wow. I didn't know that Seinfeld was having a resurgence.
I got a great name for our kids. A real original. You want to hear what it is? You ready?
Yeah. What is that, sign language?
7.
7 Costanza. You're serious?
Yeah. It's a beautiful name for a boy or a girl, especially a girl or a boy.
I don't think so.
Well, you don't like the name?
It's not a name, it's a number.
I know, it's Mickey Mantle's number. So not only is it an all-around beautiful name, it is also a living tribute.
It's awful, I hate it.
Well, that's the name!
Oh, no, it is not. No child of mine is ever going to be named Seven.
All right, let's just stay calm here! Don't get all crazy on me!
So another question about games. Did you, when you first saw Hearthstone and you decided to play it, did you ever play a Blizzard game before and thought like, oh, this is by Blizzard? Or was this your first Blizzard experience?
So my buddy and I actually played a lot of Age of Empires growing up. Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 3, and I think those would be my first Blizzard games. Whenever I thought Blizzard, I thought, oh, AoE 2. So I think this is probably my latest Blizzard game. I never played WoW. I never played, Diablo. But they were always around. Like they were always making like good games when I was a kid.
Yeah, you missed out on some good ones. They just re-released Warcraft 3. It's really good. I recommend it.
I don't think Age of Empires was Blizzard. I'm not sure who made that.
StarCraft. Then StarCraft and Blizzard, like kind of like StarCraft and Age of Empires, kind of like I put them in the same category because they were like real-time strategy games.
Yeah, except StarCraft wasn't like 9 hours for a match.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, I would just, but like that's the thing. Like when you're a kid, like I would just get up there and I would just like try to build the biggest castle I could. Like I didn't care. It's just like no one's getting past my defense. And meanwhile, the meta in that game is like you need to attack the entire time.
Yeah, I did play Age of Empires as well, but not a lot. I didn't know really what I was doing. I would just verse the computer, and then you could save the game back then and then just come back to it later and play the computer again. But StarCraft, yes, the original StarCraft, I played a lot of online, like way too much of, actually.
Have you guys played the remake at all? I saw they remade it with new graphics. I don't know. It's on my list, but...
I haven't. I mean, it would be fun. I've played through that campaign, I don't know how many times. It's super, super fun. I love it. I love the story. I love everything about it. But hence my name is Hydralisk. But no, I haven't played the one with the new graphics.
So so you're a teacher by trade. What got you into teaching? Just out of curiosity.
I don't really know. Like I really do enjoy still hanging around school. Like not necessarily like being in high school with all the drama, but just like I just sort of still enjoy the environment. I still sort of vibe with that with that age group. Teaching physics, affords me the ability to talk to almost adults, like at 11th grade, 12th graders. Like I don't have to like house train the freshmen or anything like that. You get to have some like really important discussions with young men and young women who are about to go out into the world and make some really important life-altering decisions. And I kind of like being one of the trusted advisors for that, making those decisions. Because I think because I teach physics, they assume I'm smart. So they'll ask me all kinds of questions. I'll get all kinds of questions about like, Mr. Burkhart, where should I go to college, or where should I do this, or where should I do that? So, it's a big responsibility, but I really do enjoy it.
That's really cool.
I'm at a lower level than you. I like that you can recognize the position you're in, that you have influence in their life. And to that point, it's better because you're looking to influence them in a positive way, knowing that you have influence in their life, where there are people in life who know they can influence somebody and then do it in a bad way. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that you're in education and then you're doing it to influence them in a positive way. So it's cool. Because I'm just getting into the field myself, so it's cool to see that and hear it.
And honestly, if I got them any younger, they wouldn't get any of my jokes or my sense of humor, and I'd probably make one or two of them cry. So it's just it's better that I'm where I'm at.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I actually took my grade 12 physics twice because I failed it the first time. So
you just didn't have the right teacher.
I didn't. I was gonna say if it was Schmoopie.
Professor,
fun stuff, man. I do some fun stuff.
Professor Schmoopie, can I ask you a question? I like it. I wish that, like, thinking back to high school, I really wish that there had been more, like, life skills that they had taught us about, like, I don't know, finance, balancing a budget, saving money, basic economics, job finding, that sort of thing. I mean, yeah. I don't know, at least I feel like my wife and I kind of learned all that stuff the hard way.
They do that now in home and careers, but the problem is that kind of tends to happen a lot whenever society kind of has a problem. Like the default mode is just like, okay, let's tell the schools to do it. And the problem is like the more time we spend doing that, the less time we spend like teaching content and stuff that like we're actually trained to teach about. So like, like I couldn't tell you like how many times we'll have, this directive or that directive. It's like, okay, today is like, like in March, there's an NFL, everybody, works out for a day in class. Now I can like take my content and kind of morph my way around that, but like you can't always teach everything. You do have to kind of like, cut kids loose sometimes and just sort of have them figure stuff out. But I get what you're saying. They definitely do that more now than they used to. But at the same time, like it's rough when you keep getting told there's more stuff you have to do on top of what you've been trained to do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Physics doesn't change a ton. Like it does, but like the topics that it changes in are the topics that it changes in, like you're not going to be covering in my conceptual physics class where I'd probably, have Hydra for the second year. So like that's kind of what we're that's like we're not, talking about the Higgs boson. Like that's not like, no, it's like, guys, we're going to talk about gravity a little bit today.
Yeah, but if there's like some sort of advances in the field or whatever, I'm sure that maybe you would cover that as something cool to.
If honestly, I'll know it's good if somebody in the class brings it up. If somebody in the class brings it up, I'll spend some time on it. But unless somebody brings it up, the kids that I'm usually working with are like, give me you're sick, you're poor, you're tired. Like it's like I've got kids who they need this class to graduate, and the other 3 years of science have not gone well. So I'm kind of like I'm not going to say like a last resort, but my class is to kind of, as they're moving through my class, make sure they're taking something along the way, not necessarily outlining the finer points of every physics discovery that pops up.
Cool.
I guess that's a benefit to being in like the math and science field, is that like the stuff doesn't really change all that much, right?
No, and if it does, like I'll give like, again, gravity is a great example. Like the way I teach gravity is the way that Newton basically came up with in the 1600s. But I mean, Einstein stated it better. Like Einstein's example of how gravity works is better. But like try teaching that to like a 4-year-old.
Good point. Good point.
So do you see yourself staying in this career field, or do you see yourself stepping away from it one day?
I will step away from it when I am 55 years old.
Haha. That's a good answer.
Look back. I enjoy it now. I'm going to enthusiastically, you set your temperature in your classroom. So I'm going to show up and be enthusiastic about my science because I love my science. I'm going to be enthusiastic about teaching because I like teaching. I like interacting with young people. But I'm also going to be equally enthusiastic about retirement. And when that comes around, sweet.
So you do set the temperature in your classroom, because the teacher that I pair for, she likes to have the window open and it's freezing.
Yeah, no.
That is the first dad joke of the night. Love it. I will say,
teacher dad joke.
I think that there's definitely something to be said about having a good teacher. Like you can have a really difficult subject, and as long as the teacher is good, it makes the subject approachable, the Schmoopie you see here is the Schmoopie that you see in front of the classroom, basically with the same level of sarcasm and tongue in cheek. So like, this is if you ever want me to come on and teach Newton's laws, just let me know. Oh yeah. Bonus episode.
Oh yeah.
Hey, so I think everyone wants to know, the kid that you saw Hearthstone on his phone in class, are you guys friends in the game?
Oh.
No, I'm not. But I actually friended his buddy, who actually told me that it's like, oh yeah, this kid's really good. He's really good. And like, meanwhile, this guy, like looking back on it now, was pretty funny. This other kid was like so stoked that he opened like Prince Liam. He's like, yo, dude, all my 1-drops become legendaries. And he didn't realize it was a meme. So like that was like the level of player he is. I haven't kicked him off my friends list because like I wouldn't want to do that to the guy. But I check in every once in a while. Sometimes I scan my friends list and I boot people who haven't been on for like months and months. And I think hasn't been on for more than a year, but I still have him on there.
Cool. Good times. It's such a good story.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, let's get into the meat of the episode, if you will. Before we get started, I do want to say a big thank you to our patrons, particularly Shokunin and Pug Ugly as the executive producers of our show. Thank you guys very much for backing us. We really appreciate all that you do for us. Also, big shout out to our patrons, Adam W., Claudette G., and Daniel B. Thank you very much for your support. If anyone else is interested in supporting the show, you can visit us online at www.borntobewildhs.com. There's all of our shows, all of our stuff there is posted on the website. There's links. If you guys are interested in interacting with us or want to know how you can support the show, whether it's monetary or not, some of the great things that are very beneficial to us would be, that is a really nice hoodie you got there. What good timing. Hey, that turned out really nice, actually. I like it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to support the show financially, we have a merch shop, we have a Patreon, that sort of thing. But other non-monetary ways, like join the Discord and interact with us, just to help build the community, or leave a review on iTunes. Or, like one of the biggest things that you can do for us, go to YouTube and hit subscribe. That's it. Anyways, I don't want to soapbox too long, but that stuff is very valuable to us, so we appreciate it. And then before we get into our week, I did want to also do a quick new legend shout out. So something that we typically will do on the show is when we see somebody who has hit Wild Legend for the first time, it's just such an awesome experience, and so we like to shout them out. So we have one over this past week. I'm probably going to mispronounce the name, so I apologize in advance. Suman Sir Roy finally reached Legend, first time ever. Feels great, man. Thanks to Palmanaus P for sharing the Reno Lock deck list. And Palman, of course, is one of our friends, a Warlock expert, hangs out in the Discord with us, and going to be a guest on the show in a couple weeks. So that'll be super cool. But Suman, congrats on hitting Legend for the first time, especially hitting Legend for the first time with Reno Lock. That's incredible. So GG's.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Congratulations. So we'd like to check in with everybody, see how everybody's doing. And I was wondering, Mike, what have you been up to this last week? How are things going?
Oh, things have been going good. So like I was saying earlier, getting back into teaching, headed back to work next week on Monday. So this past week, just took advantage of the hours I wouldn't be home to stream. So been having a good time there. This past week, it's been pretty crazy at the stream. We got the usual, raids and people hanging out, increasing the concurrent view. But this week, not to beat my chest, boast and brag, because I don't want to come in here and sound like that. It just happened, I just put start stream, just hanging out, and then I got this raid of 179 people from Corbett.
Holy cow. Wow, that's awesome.
Corbett, he's a good guy.
Yeah, it was just out of nowhere. But I wasn't there right when it happened. I was kind of in the bathroom. I'll let it breathe so Nate can put in the toilet flushing sound. Yeah, I was in the bathroom, come back, had the break screen up, and he's like, awkward timing. And I was like, oh, snap, my bad. I totally missed it. So a chunk of the people had left, but it's all good. I still appreciate him coming through. I said thanks before he took off. And we also had gotten raids this week from Martian Boo. Martian Boo recently just made a Twitch partner. So shout out to Martian Boo.
Super cool.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
Yeah, Martian Boo plays a lot of Wild. Streams a lot of Wild. So yeah, we've had a good week. Based on my schedule, I don't try to compete, and I don't think anyone should, but I don't try to compete with other Wild streamers. I just get on when I can. I just happen to, receive raids from a lot of different Wild streamers: Keith Numbers, Martian Boo, Concerned Mom, Corbett, Jack. So I appreciate all those guys. I even got tagged by Pizza in a tweet this past week saying that he would watch me or one of the other 4 people he had tagged in the tweet. So it's just cool to see people outside of our Discord who are in other communities checking my content out, because of course I'm representing us and talking about us when I'm not on the show. it's just been a great week on Twitch. Yeah, I see GG in chat. But yeah, it's just been a cool time this week on Twitch. And when I go back to work next week, I'll just be streaming like maybe 2 days during the week at night, and then on the weekends back to my weekend.
Nice.
But it's been a good time.
Oh, congrats! That's really good.
Yeah,
Schmoopie, sure. What have you been up to the last week or so?
So it was really weird. I actually can't play a ton of Secret Mage all at once. Like if I start, I really need a goal. Like pushing for Legend is a goal for me. I can strive to that. Climbing the Legend ladder with Secret Mage doesn't hold a whole lot for me. So I spent most of the week achievement hunting. Specifically, I've been trying to make like a Jade Greybow deck work. It's terrible. It's not going to work. I'm just going to stick him in a Taunt Druid.
Hey, did you see the list? Ixar posted his Greybow achievement list because he just hit the 200, the one to play you 200 Greybows, and he shared his list on Twitter. I posted it in our Discord.
I'm going to look at that because like that card is terrible, but like I have to get the XP. So I've been achievement hunting. I think the most satisfying one so far was I got the No Pathetic Cards one. I was playing a Cthulhu Druid, a new Cthulhu Druid, against a Reno DH, and he played Reno just as I top decked my Cthulhu, and I had a Spellstone ramped up to kill the Reno, and I had a Lightning Bloom to play the Cthulhu, and it was just like, yes, I never have to do this again if I don't want to.
Oh, I'm so jealous. That's awesome. Congrats. That's great.
Well, that's pretty sweet, man. Some of the achievements, when you look at them, you think, how the heck am I supposed to get that? And then they just happen. Mm-hmm. Like trying to win a game without taking any damage. Like I got one without playing a minion the other day. I can't remember even how that one happened, but
turn one concede.
It wasn't though. It was something else. Anyway, some of them just happen so naturally, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I got that. Sweet. So, well, what about you, Nate? What have you been up to the last week?
Yeah, I mean, it was Thanksgiving yesterday, at least here in the U.S. So, I forget. Canadian Thanksgiving's back in October. So
yep, happened already.
So at least in the U.S., you're now safe to play Christmas music without getting hated on too much. We had a nice little Thanksgiving. We really didn't do very much. I mean, really trying to basically quarantine or stay to ourselves, and so we had a nice little mellow Thanksgiving. We watched White Christmas, and that was fun. I love that movie. We got a Christmas tree. We got it set up. We have not done any other decorations or anything, but it was kind of a funny story. We got this Christmas tree a while back, like a fake artificial Christmas tree from Costco, and it was too big. Like, it's huge. We have to like move furniture to stick the thing in the house. And so what had happened last year, I dragged the thing down, like when we were putting everything away, I dragged it all downstairs, and I didn't want to get it all boxed up. And so I just left it in the garage. My wife was in a hurry to go somewhere and backed the truck over it. And so,
oh my damn.
So the old Christmas tree is a little bit messed up. So we got a new one this year. It's a little bit smaller actually, which is good. It fits in the house a little bit better. So we got that set up, and so it's cool. We were going to decorate today, and then we all collectively decided that we wanted to have a lazy day instead. So I've been playing Arkham Asylum on computer all day, and my kid's been playing on the computer. Wife's been watching TV. It's just been a super mellow kind of chill day. Nice. I've been doing that achievement hunting also. Like, I want the XP, right? I know that we'll talk about it later, but this the rewards path or whatever, I think is designed for you to complete in 4 months. But like, I want it done now. I want those portraits, and then I can just, mellow out. But I'm at level like right 31, 32, right around there. I think Ben from work is at 35, 36. I don't know. Where are you guys at?
I'm right there at 31 too.
I think I'm pushing 33.
Okay.
I'm at 27, 20, and 19. I think.
I'm doing it 3 times.
I haven't paid for the pass though. I'm just free to play. I'm free to play. I'm seeing how far I can get without the pass, and then I'm planning on last day of the month, if if I'm going to come up a little short of 50, I'm just going to, shell out for it.
I like the cosmetics that got me more than the bonus XP or anything. It's the cosmetics, but so yeah, last night I played a little bit, some co-op with Blue Train and Ben from work, and that was fun. Ben has been brewing up this Reno Secret Mage. He went on some crazy 31 tear win streak with, and we played some co-op last night, and I think I went 10-4 with it or something. It was pretty strong. A while back, Mike introduced me to, so I got 2 monitors set up, and typically I'll be playing Hearthstone on one or playing a game on one and watching TV on the other one because I do that whole divided attention thing. It's not a good idea. I do not recommend it. But
no, don't.
So Mike had recommended 90 Day Fiancé a while back, and I'd watched a bunch of that and seeing what else was on TLC because I ran out of stuff to watch. And so for the last week, I've been watching My 600 Pound Life, and that is some crazy TV right there. I don't know. I don't know.
I expect that.
I didn't either, but I started watching it and was like, whoa, this is just crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, yeah, so it's because today's Black Friday, all the Steam and GOG and all the sites are having sales and stuff, and I went on GOG and they had all 4 Batman games on sale for $5 each. I was like, oh yeah, okay. Have I already played all these on the PS4 a long time ago? Yeah, but do I want to play them all again? Yeah. For $5? So I've been playing Arkham all day and it's been fun. How about you, Hyder? What are you up to?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it was last year or the year before, the same thing happened. They put all the Arkham games on sale on Steam, and I bought those as well. And I was playing the first one. That's when you go down into the basement of the Arkham Asylum, and then it's a trap. Yeah. Oh, sorry, spoiler. That game is awesome.
And they get collectively like better and better and better too. I mean, they're really good games.
So I've got to play my way through the rest. I still have them all on Steam, but I only played the first out of the series, and it's definitely good. But as for my week, my work week has been absolutely crazy. With my work, when it's month end, it's a really big deal. So I work for a geotechnical instrumentation company, and we send like supplies that do like ground monitoring and dam monitoring. We look for like movements in the earth and stuff like that. And the equipment that we provide is usually going somewhere important. Obviously, nobody's ordering this stuff for no reason. But when it becomes month end, it is absolutely insane. And so I work in the quality department, and I need to sign off on all the stuff that leaves the building. And so I am so busy that I don't take any breaks. Like, I was asked to actually work all weekend because month end is Monday, and I refuse. Like, it's been absolutely nuts, and I'm just glad that it's gonna be over soon. Monday's not gonna be a fun day.
Was it like from Office Space where your boss is like, yeah,
Hello, Peter. What's happening? I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay? Oh, and I almost forgot. I'm also gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday, too, okay? We lost some people this week, and we need to sort of play catch-up. Thanks.
Gonna need you to work on Saturday.
Yeah, that exact same, that happened to me today. And I was like,
wow.
I sorry, parent, like, not doing it.
Hydra, is it like a budget thing? Like, people just have budget money they have to spend by the end of the month?
Yeah, okay, so basically it is a numbers thing for sure. This year has been kind of crazy COVID-wise, and so all like of our international trade was shut down for a while, and we lost like millions of dollars. And so things are been back up and running, and we are trying to get stuff out the door by the end of the month. We also have investors in the company that we need to prove, that we're making them money. So we need to show them numbers. So like, for example, today, one of the orders that I was doing a final inspection on was $250,000 for one order. And they were like, you need to come in on Saturday and finish this. I'm like, hey, I have till Monday, so I'll finish it on Monday. Sorry. Like, I need to be a parent. I don't know what to tell you. It'll still go out the door, but they need the month end thing is a big deal. It's all about the investors and stuff. So that was kind of crazy. Other than that, I've been preparing for tonight's episode by playing our featured deck that you've brought, Schmoopie, which is Secret Mage, and I've been playing different versions of it, mostly because I don't have all the cards on all the servers. So like I'm kind of playing older versions on Asia and EU and more updated versions on NA. And looking forward to talking about it more. And yeah, that's basically been my week.
Cool,
we should
cool.
probably jump into the news then, hey?
Yeah, let's jump into the news. Yeah, so I guess first up we had a handful of people were missing daily quests. I don't know. Did this happen to you guys at all?
Nope.
I don't think it happened to me, man.
Yeah, and it didn't happen to me either. So I don't know. I mean, I saw the stuff all over Twitter saying, "Hey," I think it was Ridiculous Hat was saying, "Hey, did some of you guys miss daily quests?" And some people said yes, some people said no. It sounds like it didn't affect any of us, so I don't really know. And then they pushed out a hot fix that it was compensation for missing weekly quests. So it says weekly compensation for missing weekly quests went out to the affected players. It's 6,000 XP, which is the value of the weeklies, plus 600 XP bonus. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a thing. Honestly,
Apparently.
like I don't know. I'm not that surprised just because it's a new system. I'm not too surprised that there's some bugs to work out. I don't know. And then there was another bug where people were getting random golden legendaries pop up.
I saw Ridiculous Hat made a post on Twitter asking who has got this, and it immediately made me log into
Me too.
every account to check and see if I got them. Was not the case.
Me neither. Did you guys get these at all?
I missed out. That sounds awesome.
Everything that's been online has not happened to me.
I know.
Nope.
It's so disappointing. Like, hey, bonus XP, golden legendary. I wonder if it's the people who missed the rewards got the golden legendaries. I don't know. Maybe there's a correlation there. I really don't know. I mean, it's very minor news, but like it didn't happen to me either. So
I went online one night and I saw some conversations about people not getting experience. So I did a match and I'm trying to finish up all the chests because I know once I finish the chests, I have to wait for weeklies and dailies to get to 50. And it looked like one of them didn't give me the proper XP. So for a second, I felt a part of the Twitter beef. I was like, yeah, I'm in the middle of this. I'm in the mix. But then I like recalculated and then I realized they gave me the proper amount. So then I was like, never mind, I'm not a part of it. So yeah, so never mind.
I hear that there is an update coming to Hearthstone Deck Tracker that will show you how much XP you earned after matches. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yo, they might have some downloads. Okay.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Did you feel like over like the last weekend or so that you started getting more experience from the same amount that you were playing? Because like after that hot fix, I feel like I was getting like 100 experience where I was getting like 20 or 30 before.
I didn't.
Can I answer that right now? I have it.
Yeah,
I wrote that down today when I was streaming.
Ooh, that's nice.
So I recorded my last hour play. So, and they were all wins except for one, the one loss. I got 105. I got 93 in a loss. I got 106, 115, and then 120. And when I hit the Sage quest, that Mage legendary, I got 684 from that.
Wow.
And I was just so I'm glad you asked that because at the beginning, I know everyone was complaining about the stuff. Initially, the only thing I complained about was not getting enough experience to get more gold because I can't make that 100 gold every day. But I've noticed ever since like last week or last weekend or whatever, like the experience per match has gone up. I started tracking it myself.
They didn't say anything about it, but like I somebody mentioned it on Discord. On I don't know if it was your Discord or one of the other ones that I'm a part of, but somebody mentioned it, and I was just like, really?
Mhm.
And then I started just sort of noticing that like I'd be playing the same length matches, and I'd be making way more experience. Like I'd be making experience in like secret mage matches that I was normally making in my achievement Linecracker Druid like deck that would be taken like 40. Like I had a dead man's hand take me to the turn limit like the other day, and like that was like maybe like 100 XP or something.
I'm not too surprised that they slid it in there, though. I wouldn't be surprised. I honestly, for me, I've not been calculating mine. I've been kind of watching it slowly increase, and I've been trying to get the achievements with the chests for the XP, but I've not been tracking for games. I'll do that over the next week, just to compare. That'd be interesting.
Has anybody noticed? Because I know that it was never said that when you play duels, you're going to get experience. But has anybody played a game of duels and then looked at their experience and then looked at it after to see if it went up at all?
Because Blue Train was talking about that last night. I think you only get I could be wrong on this. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think you only get experience if you are playing the paid version, like Arena, right? You pay your 100 gold or 150 gold. I think you get experience for that. In casual, I know you get experience if you unlock the achievements, right? So over the past week, I did a run with Demon Hunter and got 8 wins. And that boosted me like 3 levels because it gives you the achievement for 8 wins, 7 wins, 6 wins, 5 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins. And so I got all of those like compounded on top of each other, and it pushed me up, I think, 2 to 3 levels. Wow. But aside from that, I don't think you get normal XP.
I cannot confirm. I have like a memory, could be false memory, that it did go up slightly after doing a round, even though I got no achievements. But I'm not confident in saying that that's true.
I think there was a problem where duels weren't giving XP, and that was a bug. But I also wonder if like when would it give you XP? Would it give you XP after the duels match, or would it give you like a lump after like a run? Like I don't know how they set that up.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to do a little more experimenting.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the initial idea was that, hey, you get XP for playing Hearthstone. And so, but they've been a little coy about how you get XP, how much it is. Initially they said it's 400 per hour. But I think that may have changed, and I'm not really sure what's going on. I'll try tracking mine over the next week. I'll play some battlegrounds. I'll play some duels. Play some ladder in wild and a little bit in standard, and kind of compare everything just to see. Have a little science experiment here.
Yeah, I feel like that needs to be done because I feel like I'm going crazy because I could swear I did a run of duels, and then when I was done, I got a little bit. But
could be. I don't know.
Could be.
So they released a bundle a couple days ago called the Give Ka Thanks bundle, and which outraged everybody. Which the timing, I think, was pretty bad. What I thought was interesting about this, I mean, I think it was more so the idea, right, where the community's all been out of shape about the whole battle pass thing, and their sort of response, and I don't think that it was their response. I just think it was bad timing. Was buy more packs, get 2 ledges, and they're old packs too. Like, why the new set is out? My only complaint about this really is why the Dark Moon Fair just came out. Like, why do I want 20 Scholomance packs?
So not to defend it in like a fanboy way. It's the only thing I can think of.
No, I mean, I'm curious. That's fine. Scholomance was a better set than Dark Moon Fair, so I'd rather have those anyways.
So it does 2 things at once. It'll give people 2 legendaries from the new set because that's new, relevant, shiny, and exciting. But then also, it will give you Scholomance cards that helps you because of duels.
Oh, Yeah,
the
no,
only
that
thing
makes
I can
sense.
think
That
of.
makes sense.
That's
I
the
mean,
only thing I
honestly,
can
the
think of.
cards overall in Scholomance were better than the cards, in my opinion, anyways, than Darkmoon Fair. So I ended
I
up.
actually thought that was a really good deal. Like
It,
I made out like a bandit on that. I got a legendary in the my 20 packs, so it was worth for me.
it's
And
definitely a good value.
it's not like the cards have rotated or something if you're a standard player.
No,
Like
that's true.
they're there, and there's achievements to complete your collection. I don't know. It definitely was bad timing, but I also feel like possibly this is just something that they planned a long time ago, that they're gonna do a Thanksgiving bundle
Yeah.
without thinking about the backlash that was going to come from the paid rewards track and stuff. This is just
Exactly,
something that's on the schedule. Like this was going to happen. They've known it's going to happen for the last 4 or 5 months or something. It's just something that
100%.
they
Yeah.
had planned for the year. It's not like they were like corporate greed. Let's try to get people to give us money, right? It's just bad timing from what happened before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's the thing. I think so. The whole outrage thing, it's very interesting in my mind because there's a lot of backlash at the devs, and I think that a lot of the devs, at least who are active on Twitter, are the people that make, VFX and who make music and who make art and who make Tavern Brawl and stuff like that. And it's like, look, these people don't have any influence at all on the way that the price is set on this. And I think actually over the past year, they've been very responsive. So I don't know, but because what we're seeing is because of all the backlash, like just all the hate coming their way. This is kind of funny in a sad way, but like, so over the past week, I was looking forward to this. Blizzard, Australia, New Zealand, we're planning on doing an AMA on Reddit. And so they had released this thing, Ask an Old God Anything, was planned for this coming Thursday. And then they ended up taking it down because they were getting so much hate from the community that they ended up just pulling it, which I don't blame them, frankly, because all the questions were going to be about the stupid battle pass and people being upset about it. And so,
for sure. As soon as I saw that they announced that was going to happen, I thought, maybe let's not.
Yeah, the timing, I don't know. I felt bad. So what I really felt bad about was, so we've got a bunch of friends over at Coin Concede who made the Blizzard launcher, which is just absolutely incredible.
Yes, congratulations to them.
Yeah, so congrats, Hat and Edelweiss and Boticus. It's super cool.
Yeah,
super duper cool to make the launcher. Like, that's just incredible. And unfortunately, it got overshadowed a little bit by all of the vitriol going around. And I just felt bad. Like, all the comments there were like, Blizzard, you suck. Blizzard, you guys just want our money. And I don't know. I just felt kind of bad for them. So I don't know. But since we're talking about the Battle Pass, what do you guys think about it? I mean, I'm genuinely curious, and I think that it's perfectly fine to be critical as long as it's constructive, right? I'm curious. What do you guys think? I'll start with you, Hydra. What do you think? What is your hot take on this Battle Pass?
I find it very engaging. It makes me play the game more. I was looking at my games played this month compared to previous months, and I've already played hundreds of games more this month in comparison to before, just because of the rewards that I get, right? So it's definitely working. It's making me play the game a lot more. When it comes to, earning your gold and stuff like that, I fully get that when you're free to play and you're grinding that gold, you're getting your 10 gold per 3 wins. It can seem pretty crappy, right? And I can totally see that side. And as you stated, criticism is definitely encouraged, and we can get the devs or whoever on the team to maybe help work on the game economy. But yes, please just be constructive. There is a lot of people that are taking a lot of hate for not giving their, full opinions on it. And I don't know if that's constructive. Like, basically, if you got your favorite streamer out there and they're not, going like balls to the wall angry about it, they're taking hate for this. And I just think that there's a better way to express how you're feeling about it than, jumping on Reddit and getting mad at your favorite streamer because they're not mad about it. Like, everybody does have their own opinion. And just if we can do it in a constructive way, we can make the game better. Obviously, I feel like the team has heard the message. It's everywhere. People are not happy about it. Let's just try to do it in the most constructive way possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll never forget when Quest Mage came out and then they announced the nerf and people thought that it wasn't enough of a nerf and they were harassing Ixar when he was out on his honeymoon. And then people started sending him death threats and it's like, okay, grow up. There's constructive feedback, and I think the problem is any sort of constructive feedback gets overshadowed by threats, and like, I don't know, it's just so counterproductive. Like, that's not how you get what you want. So I don't know. Mike, what about you? What do you think about this whole thing?
Well, ever since the set came out and people were complaining about the way gold got taken away, at first I had no problem because I was sitting on a fat stack, I was playing duels, I was making what I thought my gold back, having no problem, right? So then I get to a point where I start like running low on gold, and then I'm not really making back what I was told I would. So my issue comes from not being able to replace gold that I spend very rapid and recklessly. It's not their fault for me spending as much as I want as fast as I do, but I think it sucks that I can't make it back at the same rate that I used to.
No, I know what you mean though. As soon as I hit that 100 gold, when I was trying to build my collection, it's like snap, get a pack. Like the second I got that gold, right? And then now people are trying to get 3,500 experience so they can get to that next reward for their gold, right?
Yeah. So to finish that, my problem now at this point is I can understand if they don't want people to be able to like fly through levels to make gold too fast. But for me, it feels like it's even a little too slow for people who play as much as me based on Corona quarantine, staying at home time. Because I see Ben where he says he's at level 37, and I'm not knocking his determination or hustle, but I remember playing NBA 2K when they started My Player, and how fast it is to go from like 60, 70, 80 to get to 90. And once you get to 90, like from 90 to 91, it's like this gap. And then from 91 to 92, it's like the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering if it's going to take, and not Ben's skill level, just based on how this is built. I'm just wondering if it's going to take, how many days it's going to take for Ben to get from 37 to 40. And then once you get to 40, how much of a grind it is to get through those levels, because it kind of sucks if it's going to take a bunch of days to make a bag of gold. That's where it gets me. Like, people who play as much as me, I don't think it should feel like, not easy, but it just feels like daunting. It's like, how many hours and days do I have to put in to get a bag of gold? That's what I don't want to feel. So however they can solve that.
Schmoopie, what do you think?
So this is going to be kind of boring, but I kind of equate it to like changes in taxing laws. Like, what would you rather do? Would you rather pay exactly what you owe in taxes, or, when you owe it and ultimately like pay less up front, but not get, the rebate at the end? Or would you rather pay too much in taxes and then get a big like check from the government that's just like, hey, you overspent in taxes, here you go?
I love that part.
Because for a lot of people culturally, the second option is better because they're like, I'm going to spend all my money. So like the government's basically my bank. Whereas, you know, the first way actually makes more like smart economic sense if you're going to take that money and you're going to invest it wisely. Off the bat, you're going to make more off of it in interest. And I feel like when they front loaded the rewards, that was really good for like casual players who are going to hit levels, you know, they're going to hit, you know, X number of levels throughout the expansion, but they're not going to put in a huge grind. So the majority of the rewards are kind of front loaded. But if you didn't realize that the majority of the rewards were front loaded and like most of the, you know, progress you were going to make was going to happen. Again, this is supposed to happen over 4 months, right? So we're going to make a bunch of progress and we're going to get like over halfway there within the pass. And we're going to do that quickly. And now the next 3 months are like, oh my God, we have like another 15 levels to go. Like that's, you know, you could say it might be a design issue. I think it's a big issue that like there were no statements coming out about this leading up, like previewing what this was going to be about, how this was going to be structured. So a lot of this backlash they kind of brought upon themselves by not really communicating all that effectively leading up to it. Like we got a survey that was leaked that people freaked out over. And then like they tell us it was going to come out and then it comes out and people freak out over it. Like there wasn't any kind of like slow play into like, hey, here are the numbers. Here's what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. It kind of feels like it wasn't a finished system and they knew it wasn't a finished system and they pushed it out anyway because they had a deadline.
I like that take.
I agree.
I like the example of the taxes. That's good. And as a person who like I'm doing both, like I have the paid track and I also have the free track. And since I have the paid track and I see myself getting more out of it and I get excited when I get the new portraits and everything, and then I go play on my free track, it seems underwhelming for me only because I have the paid and the bonus that you get and the cool portraits and stuff. But when I switch over, I have like less incentive and it almost feels like daunting and that I may not make it when I'm playing the free version and that I'm not rewarded enough. So it almost like I'm not going to do it, but it makes me want to drop the $20 to be able to get those rewards and get fast tracked, right? Like it makes me sort of feel obligated to do it because I know what it's like on the other side being on the paid track, right? Like I can definitely see it. I am way further ahead on the paid track than I am on like the free version of it because I'm more motivated because I have more cool things I can have, right? The golden looking animated heroes and all that stuff. So just thought I'd add that.
All right. Well, let me contribute my 2 cents here as well. I think looking at this from a sort of management perspective, a lot of times we'll push out something new policy, a new procedure, you know, a new whatever, and very rarely is anything 100% perfect. Like right when we push it out, a lot of times it's, hey, we've got this idea, we've talked through it, we think that it's pretty much right, so let's, you know, we're going to do this, and then we'll have an after action. We'll meet about it, we'll talk about what went right, what went wrong, and then we'll make any changes that we need to make. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like that here, like, hey, this is a new thing, you know, they've got this idea, and the idea that, hey, what we're play testing in-house with like 30 people, 25 people is very different than when it gets released to the public. And now I've got, you know, 250,000 people, 300,000 people, however many people now experiencing this thing from a very different perspective. Overall, I'm a fan of the progression system. I think that it's cool. I think somebody had put it in terms of like this, you know, of the money that you put into the game, do you feel like you're getting value out of it? I like all the cosmetics. I think they're cool. Historically, like I remember dropping $10 for Magni and what was the other one? hunter one or whatever. But anyways, and that was like expensive. So $20 for what, 6? You know, three for mage, 3 for shaman, plus I get the warrior one, plus if I get to 50, you know, where I think that what I don't like in all of this, just from my perspective, is that typically my daily quest looks like this, right? It's empty all the time. I get, I almost wish that we got 3 a day or something if we were really going to do this. Like every time I log in, it just looks like this. And that makes me sad. I don't like that you can only get XP on ladder. Like you don't get XP for achievements in casual, which kind of sucks, because that means that I got to tank my rank if I want to do the Cthulhu quest or some of these, you know, wonky quests. I think that the system overall is pretty cool, but it definitely needs some fine tuning. I guess where I would shift the conversation to is, what do you think that could be done to make it better? And I agree with you guys. I think what would be really cool would be to reinstate the 10 gold for every 3 wins or whatever it is, 100 gold for every 3 wins.
I wish it was 100 gold for every 3 wins.
What is it 10? I don't even remember. 10 gold for every 3 wins. That's like nothing, right? It's barely any. But if you play a lot, you know, you're incentivized for playing, and it feels more like a reward than XP.
Oh, if that was added, that would be so good. And I don't think that's adding that much, to be honest. Just reinstating that, because that was pennies anyways, right? Getting your 10 gold per 3 wins. Like adding that, you have to play hours upon hours to get your 30 wins, to get the full 100
Oh yeah,
gold,
to get
right?
100 per day. And that doesn't, there's no guarantee that everyone's going to get 100. Like you have to be really grinding if you're going to do that.
I don't have OCD, but like I look at my gold and I have 280, and I'm like, can I please make that an even 300? Can I please make that an even 300 somehow? How can I do that?
Or at least you don't have that weird extra 5 gold thing going on from like an arena award. Because
I had that, and then I finished a heroic duel and I got 35 gold, and I'm like, yes.
The uneven amounts, they're so bad. Yeah. So I think that would solve a lot of problems. I saw in the chat earlier, Wildcard was saying, I think he said he's got 1,300 gold or 1,500 gold or something since this thing started. You know, I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same. And I feel like my perspective on it may not be as valuable because I dump money into this game. I don't play a whole lot of other games, and this is like the one that I wail out on. And so I do think that reinstating that would fix a lot of it for me, is reinstate the 10 gold for 3 wins. The other thing I think is interesting is I'm not sure about the price point. Like my son plays a lot of Clash Royale, and they have a monthly battle pass there that gives lots of rewards relatively easily. It's lots of cards, lots of gold, lots of stuff. For them, it costs $5 for a month. And so like, he's like, hey dad, I want to play this with you. Will you play it with me? Okay. It's kind of fun. It's real easy. The matches take a minute and a half. Sure, I'll play. And then I saw the rewards track. He goes, hey, can I get this? He's playing a lot. Yeah, okay, $5. That's not bad. He gets all this stuff. And then I've been playing with him for the last week. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it too, because it's only $5 and I want all this extra stuff. You like double all of your, you get a whole bunch of extra cards, a bunch of extra gold. And it levels up like really quick and easy. Like they could learn something from that. If they chop the price, you know, I don't know if this fixes the problem, right? But hey, cut it from $20 down to $10, you know?
Yeah, even the Fortnite battle pass, because my son plays that. I can't remember how much it is the first time. It's like $12 or something like that. But once you get it the first time, you can earn the in-game currency, the V-Bucks, and you can buy it the next month with your in-game currency.
Oh,
so you only buy it one time. So you spend your $12 and then you earn enough. And that's what I told him. I said, I will buy this for you once. You will earn the in-game currency, and then you will forever have the battle pass. And that's what he does. I bought it for him one time a couple years ago.
I would almost feel better if you bought it for like 3 expansions. So like if they opened it up for like the start of next rotation, so like whatever this expansion ends and they start the next rotation, they rotate 3 out. I almost wish that it was like, all right, well, we're gonna say, $40, three expansions, take it or leave it. And like you can opt in whenever you want, but it would cover you throughout those 3 expansions. I would almost take that. But I'm not too knowledgeable as far as like other battle passes and how Hearthstone is comparable or incomparable. I know the rewards suck, like they've always kind of sucked. But one positive I do kind of take away from the current situation is I'm not penalized for playing too much. And I feel like in the old system where it was 10 gold a win, once I hit 30 wins, I was kind of incentivized to stop playing.
Yeah, then they capped you, and you're like, you can no longer earn gold today. You're like, what? I'm not done.
We'll talk about it later, but like you're talking about a guy who day 1 of the month, I'm posting up 70 wins. So like, do the math. If I've done that for 5 months, how much gold am I out?
Yeah. That's a good point. I do want to give the flip side argument here. Brian Kibler tweeted something out earlier today, and I want to read it just because I thought it was very poignant. That I think it's very easy to lose sight of the good things when we feel wronged about the bad things. And so what he was saying, so I'm just gonna read this real quick. This is taken a little bit out of context because he's replying to Orange and Sottle and Frodan. But he says, in what way is it getting more expensive? This year added duplicate protection, free new/returning player decks, and free Demon Hunter cards. The progression system is intended to give players more gold and cards, and they've made changes already to make it give even more. I feel like a lot of the outrage is based on assuming the intent is to give people less when that's completely at odds with the stated goal of the system. I think there are a lot of legitimate complaints, but people keep making this argument that doesn't make sense to me. You have to assume that Blizzard is both so nefarious as to outright lie about the system and also so foolish as to make their deception easy to uncover, which is just a baffling combination of assumptions to me. Now, it's clever. It is, and I do think that does it need some tweaking? Yes, for sure. They could change it to make it better. I think they really should reinstate the daily, like the gold for the wins on top of the XP. I would like more daily, like give me 3 daily quests instead of 1. Like Ben was saying on here, and I agree. Like when you get the weekly quests, I'm done with those in a few hours. Like they're easy. But at the same time, like I think like when I see these YouTube videos with I know it's clickbait, especially after talking to Jack. Like I know it's all clickbait, but when I see these captions like, "Hey, Blizzard lied to us and this is not okay," I feel like that's going a little bit overboard. I
don't feel it was like their intention.
No, and I think it's fine to
lie because they know. Trust me, they've been on Reddit. They know what the players of the game can be like. I don't think they would purposely do something like this, and I think that they're going to do the best they can to fix it. They're not trying to get rid of us, right? So
yeah. Well, and I appreciate his positivity, and I think he went on to say, like, hey, if you guys think I'm a shill for Blizzard, don't forget about that time that I was supposed to cast the matches at BlizzCon and I dropped out because I disagreed with their stance on Blitzchung. So
he did do that.
So I think that you can be critical. I think it's can you be critical in a positive in a positive way? Yeah, you can. So I don't know. It's interesting here. I think that there's some work to be done. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, I was chatting with with Blue Train last night about this, and he was saying, hey, here's something else that everybody is forgetting. Like people complain, right? People all complaining all at the same time, and they want an immediate response. And we see this in different realms. You guys remember a while back when there was that guy there was that guy in New York Central Park, and he was bird watching, and the lady had her dog off the leash, and he had asked her to put the dog back on the leash, and then she called the cops on him, was saying that he was gonna she was going to report him and he's threatening me and all this stuff. And it was all nonsense. And he had got it all on cell phone, right? And I remember the absolute outrage. Everyone was calling for this lady to get fired from her job and all this stuff. And this happened on so that's the scenario. I mean, I'm not doing it justice. It's a lot more complicated than that. And it was a horrendous thing that this lady did. But I remember, because I work in management, right? This happened on a weekend. And then people are angry at the company that this lady works for because they're not making a statement. Meanwhile, like, this is a Saturday or Sunday or something. Like, they're not going to get something until, everybody's back in the office on Monday and has a chance to digest this, and they will make it a priority and they will get something out. But like, people want something immediately, right? Anyways, so what Blue Train was saying is like, hey, number one, right, we're in the middle of a pandemic and the entire company is working from home. Okay. Number two, this is a US based company and it's Thanksgiving week. Like, my office the past week, like, I was working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but like, my entire staff, like, there was nobody there. The whole week I had, like, out of 25 people, I had, already I had half the people working remotely at any given time. And of the people who were actually in the office, I had like 3 or 4 people on any given day. And then it's the holiday. Like, people are getting ready. People are have a lot of prep work to do. And so I think if the community wants some big response, like immediately, when everybody's working from home and on holiday, like, it's not going to happen. Or you just need to be a little bit patient, like, give it a week. But that's not the age that we live in, right? Everyone wants immediate gratification. And so he was saying, hey, next time, they just watch, like, they won't release there's not going to be another bundle until, after the holiday, or another big announcement until after the holiday, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know. It's been an interesting year for Blizzard. I am pretty excited about a lot of the stuff that they've done. I do think that a lot of it still needs work, but that's fine.
One thing I will add to that is, at least, like, it may not be perfect right now and everyone isn't necessarily happy, but we have so much more to do in the game than we used to, and they're definitely trying things, and I'm hoping will take in all our feedback and try to better, the reward system and what they've given us. But they've given a lot of since the team has been at home, we have gotten so much extra to the game, right? So I feel like that's important as well. And hopefully they get all this feedback and the correct changes are made. I know there has been some compensation and a little bit of a change to the rewards track, and hopefully it gets better, but they've done a lot, and I do appreciate having more to do in the game than I used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, me too. And I think especially laddering right now, like, okay, I hit legend, and how much do I want to grind on the legend ladder? Like, do I really want to try for a big finish or not? And when I'm try-harding, I have to focus a lot more than I do playing other modes. And so if I want to just goof around, but I don't want to stop playing, like, I'll switch over to duels, I'll switch over to battlegrounds, and I can play one of those without worrying about, like, tanking my rank or whatever. So I like having options. It's good. Anyways. So, I mean, I'm happy that we discussed this. I'm not quite sure what else there is to say. I'm really curious to see where they go with it next. I mean, I feel like there's more to come on this. I do think the major shortfall of all of this was poor communication. Like you guys were mentioning earlier, we found out about all of this because of the survey being leaked. We didn't even know the price of the battle pass until the day before. And it was like, if you guys just shared a little bit of information, it would really go a long way. And so until they wait and wait and wait, and people get anxious, especially we're sitting here in a pandemic, a lot of people sitting around with nothing better to do.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of anxiety in the world right now to begin with. And so this isn't helping. And I've noticed even for me at my work, like, I have to deliver bad news all the time, or maybe news that's not bad, but that people don't want to hear. But you got to just get it out. Hey, we're going to start doing this. Hey, we're going to do that, and let people digest it, answer questions. So anyways, all right. Well, do you guys have anything to add or contribute or anything before we move on to kind of our main topic for the night?
I think we kind of touched on it already, but I just want to say, like, I thought that this year and these 3 expansions have been a huge hit as far as like the game goes. Like Scholomance was Ashes, I thought was like, Demon Hunter was broken for a little bit, but like you introduce a new class and you're trying to make up all this history, you expect it to be a little broken just to make an impact. But it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys. When they're good, just the game's more interesting. So Ashes was a hit. I thought Scholomance was a hit. I think this expansion has been a hit so far. Like, I mean, the card power level is lower, but I think the flavor is better. So a lot of people are trying a lot of fun kind of off meta stuff. Like, yeah, you hit your aggro druids a lot, but like, I don't know. I feel like I've seen like new Cthulhu a lot. I've seen a lot of News Off. I've seen a lot of Ticketus. Like people are playing around with a lot of the new cards, and they are having an impact on the meta. Now, whether like a month from now, people are just going to be like, well, this card kind of sucks. I'm going to go back to playing, a good card instead of this new one. But I don't know. I like with duplicate protection and other stuff. They've done a lot of really positive things over the past year. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on the battle pass thing, and that they'll sort it out and they'll come up with a better system. And just, I guess, go from there. Like, I don't know. I think this, like, the kind of like the Reddit mob outrage just sort of, it just irritates me. It's just why I've been typing Blizzard pied, and then like pie emojis just to just kind of like, just be like, it's just a dumb mentality to just pile on so much. I don't know.
So, for me, just to close it out, I like that the system makes me, sometimes I used to think before the system came, like, I'll play some Hearthstone, but then I'm already in Legend. What's the point? I have nothing to push for. I could get a 1K skin, whatever. Now the system makes me want to check the track to see where I'm at, go to see what achievements I need to get unlocked to get more points. I just wanted to not feel as like I'm climbing Mount Everest. I don't want to feel like I'm never going to get gold in between, like every 3 or 4 days. And I'm just coming from a viewpoint, maybe I'm in a smaller percentage of offline, like outside of the game. Like there's a lot more serious things going on in life. So when I come to like online, like when I see this, a little bit of what Nate said, I've played a bunch of different games, been in different circles. When a new technology is introduced, I feel people should expect something to go wrong. And then when it does, you give the proper feedback so that people creating it can address that. But all I've been seeing coming from like a chaotic real life to online is like this chaos online where it's like it shouldn't be chaos because it's just a game where people give you feedback and then the people who make it adjust to that. I don't understand the attacks past the level of stating what your issue is and waiting for them to get back to you. That's all I got on it.
Well said. Yep, I like it.
Well said for sure. With my work, when we create like a new instrument or a new generation of instrument, and we do testing, and we find out that this works, everything's going better, it seems better than before, and then we ship it to somewhere else in the world, and they start using it, and they're like, ooh, something here is not working right, and they give us feedback, and then we go back to our engineers and we redesign and we fix things, but no one's, yelling and screaming and swearing or anything, right? Like we try to take it like professionals and try to do things the right way. So I think the community could be a little more, but also the community may be on the younger side of things and maybe more mature possibly. I don't know, but in the professional world, things go, as far as I see it where I work, a little more mature and better and constructive. Let's put it that way, constructive.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate your guys' thoughts on this. I think that we're all coming from pretty much the same ideas, and and I like hearing, what you all think we could do. They could do a little bit differently. And honestly, I think if we give them time, I mean, they've obviously heard the feedback that people are not satisfied, and I expect that they will do something. What it is, I don't know, but like they've been relatively quick to make adjustments. I mean, last week they said, hey, okay, we get it, a bunch of old packs for old cards at the end of this doesn't make sense. All right, we'll swap those out for money instead, or for gold instead. And they did, and it was 200, 300. They're still not as quick to get them, but I think that just them being open to hearing this, to make changes, I think they'll probably do something. And if they don't, then they'll continue to hear about it. I mean, I do think there's this contingent of people that are never going to be happy no matter what. Everybody wants a refund of their free stuff. And but overall, looking at this year in a nutshell, it's been a crazy year. Everybody's on edge to begin with. Everything is very politically charged. The pandemic is happening. There's a lot of just anxiety in general. And then this is where they come to escape, right? And you go to your happy place and it's not happy. That's not good. So, but I think, in the big picture, hey, we got a new class this year. Like they said for years, they were never going to do that. And then they did. And then they gave everybody all the cards for free. We got the random card back is relatively new. I don't remember quite when it came out. We've got the duels is new. Battlegrounds is relatively new. I mean, there's a handful of stuff. I mean, that they've been making some pretty big changes. There's a bunch of new skins that like for years and years and years, we barely had any. And now we got, 15 new ones over the course of this year. Poor Rogue is never going to get any, but that's just an ongoing joke at this point. But anyways,
hey, some sub hype. We got some sub hype in chat.
Hey, very cool, Ben. Ben's gifting out subs. That's very nice of you, Ben. We appreciate it. Anyways, all right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the next topic of the night. We're going to talk about some Secret Mage tonight. So that's what you all came here for. So I'm excited to talk about this. So before we get into the nitty gritty, Schmoopie and I had been talking previously, and this is basically your pet deck, right? And typically each month you will hit legend in the first 1, 2, 3 days of the month, right?
The last 5 months I've hit day 1 twice and day 3 times.
Wow. So we're talking about speed legend climbs here, and then you typically will use Secret Mage, right?
I will use Secret Mage, and not only will I use Secret Mage, those 5 climbs, I basically used the same list that a Secret Mage would have played in Saviors of Oldham, but I swapped out Duplicate for his Netherwind Portal, and just literally through Scholomance ran the same list that was successful in Ashes. I just kept running it.
Nice. Well, and I think that goes to say to a couple of our earlier points. I mean, number one, that you can be running the same deck over a long period of time with very few changes makes me, pushes towards that argument that Wild is not all that expensive, that you can use the same deck for years with only a couple of cards changing. And also it goes to show that, it's not just the deck that's going to carry you, it's how you play it. And so, we were talking earlier, you had shared a couple articles with me. One was about reaching legend in Hearthstone for the first time. One was about Secret Mage in general. From your perspective, like, how do you approach these legend runs?
Well, I think, so you want to talk about legend climbing first?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I guess.
Sure, no.
I think that because once we get into the deck itself, we'll go down a rabbit hole.
Sorry, I have homework, so like if you're switching up the order of things, I just got to flip my paper.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. The way I kind of approach my speed run or just my mentality in general toward approaching legend is
kind of both. Yeah.
I want to get it over with as fast as possible. I played soccer pretty competitively through college, from maybe the age of like 5. And so like I really enjoy that intense competition, and I still have like a thirst for it, but at the same point I'm burned out by it. So once I hit legend, like hit legend still like my boss battles still give me butterflies. I I still have this like feeling like every month that I'm never going to hit legend again. So yeah, I still get butterflies from my boss battle. I feel every month like oh man, last month was a fluke. You're never going to get legend that early again. And like, you know, there are even times when I'm in the middle of my climb that I feel like I'm not going to hit legend, that I'm just going to be stuck at D5 for the rest of the month. Just as ridiculous as that sounds, as I still get that feeling. But I kind of don't want to lose that feeling, because that's kind of what makes hitting legend special for me. But, you know, I had these periods in my life where I had such intense competition that I enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm burned out. So I want to hit legend as fast as possible so I could do dumb stuff for the rest of the month, whether that's achievement hunting, whether that's making passable homebrew, and playing that and gatekeeping people. Like my favorite pastime is like gatekeeping Raza priests with my homebrewed Beastcracker Druid before Guardian Animals was nerfed. Rip Guardian Animals. Like I love hitting legend and then being that guy that's just like, wow, it really doesn't matter for me. So I have some tips if this sounds like something that you'd want to try. Tip 1 would be use something fast. I picked Secret Mage, and I just want to plug Cow Tipper and his guide in Ashes of Outland. If you read the guide, the meta, it has shifted so much. Like, you know, so much has changed since the beginning of Ashes of Outland when he made the guide. But the general principles on how to play Secret Mage is still good, and I'm still using those principles. And part of the reason why I use Secret Mage is my games last an average of 5 to 6 minutes. Now, Nate, I think it's going to be a great contest between you and I as to who plays faster, because I play on mobile and I probably take a couple seconds per turn. Mostly because I'm doing most of my thinking on my opponent's turn. And,
I do the same, yeah.
And I react pretty instinctively. And if you play a deck long enough, I feel like you can kind of like make a lot of the correct plays reacting instinctively. But there are a couple times I'll catch myself being like, oh, I should have slowed down and done this instead. But for the most part, I just jam games as fast as possible. So I would use something fast first and foremost.
I just want to say, sorry, let me interrupt you real quick. I do.
No, go ahead.
I kind of do. I do that same thing, right? Where typically will play pretty fast, and that's what people will harp on me for. Is like, hey, you're playing too quickly. But I will say that I do the same thing where I feel like the game is a lot like chess, where you're planning your moves out ahead of time. So typically, like on turn 1. I can tell what my opponent's deck is already, unless they play nothing for whatever reason. But typically, you know right away what it is. Okay, how am I going to counter that? And then I'm looking at my hand, and right off the bat, I know, okay, what is my plan turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, based on my hand. And then I think about that during their turn, and then, okay, you know, what are my options? I can play, you know, on any given turn, typically you've got 1, 2, 3 options, maybe, depending on what deck you're playing. And so, okay, my plan is to do this, but if they do something crazy, then here's my backup plan. And so then I watch them play, and then typically, I already knew what my plan was, and then I just execute it. And people are like, oh my God, slow down. Now, I do think that there is something to be said for taking your time and thinking things through. You want to think about all the different possible outcomes, but I also agree with what you said in that, you know, the more you play a deck, you start to learn the ins and outs of it. What, you know, synchronizes well with, you know, with each other. What are the different possible outcomes, or what are the kind of combos that not everybody sees right off the bat? I mean, I play a lot of Q Block, and so there's some things that, you know, you don't learn, I guess, until you've done it 100 times. And I think that you could say that about pretty much any deck. So I agree with you there. And I just wanted to kind of back up your point there, but I agree.
I'll catch myself doing some weird stuff sometimes, and then kind of like thinking about it, like after I've already done it and been like, oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. Like Like I've found myself recently just like tempoing out a Kirin Mage, but not playing a secret behind it because it's not something I want to play right now. Like I'm saving it for something, or like there's a specific situation that I'm setting up that secret for. So I'm like, well, I guess I just play the 4/3 then.
Yeah, well, and sometimes playing,
and it's like that's probably objectively correct given the situation. I'm trying to apply pressure. I'm trying to make sure that I'm applying tempo, and it's just like sometimes you play suboptimally to play optimally, kind of thing.
Oh, I agree 100%. We were doing that last night. It was with Ben, especially against an aggro deck. It's like, hey, sometimes you need to drop Midis Valet on 2, even though, with no secret, even though it sucks, but you need a body on the board to contest the board. And so, you're making the suboptimal play. Or with Secret Mage, I think, which is probably, at least arguably, the deck with the most synergy in the game of Hearthstone. Is that because it's Ixar's pet deck? Maybe. But I think that it's also been around for a long time. And but not all the secrets synergize well with each other, right? You have to play them correctly. When I drop a Cabal Lackey, I don't want to play Duplicate with it because I don't want 2 of those. But so it may be the correct play to play your Cabal Lackey and don't play a secret with it. Or there's a lot of that. And like you were saying, you play your Kirin Mage without a secret behind it. It may be the right thing to do, but it takes, a lot of playing and a lot of games. I don't know, to kind of realize that. So
that's definitely true. I was versing an odd paladin, and I got Flak Mage in the first couple turns of the game, and I ended up tempoing it because I knew I had Ancient Mysteries, and so I was going to draw a 1 mana or 0 mana secret, right? So like throw it out there. They didn't have anything to kill it. Well, that thing stuck, and I ended up getting a Cabal Lackey after that. So I got a secret, cleared the board, then I got a Cabal Lackey with another secret, which ended up being what's it called? Flame Ward. So I got that stacked up. But yeah, so there's definitely those intricacies where this is your matchup, this is how you're going to play it, and yeah, that worked out quite well.
What is your approach in general to? I mean, I guess what is your next step? We're talking about Legend Climb here.
All right, so my next tip would be to use something you enjoy. Like, don't just like play aggro druid because like that's a fast deck. I would pick something that's fast that you enjoy. Hopefully you can find something that you enjoy. Like I would even like venture like these days if I was going to try my Legend Climb with something other than Secret Mage, I might even try to do it with like a Mech Hunter, like just like a really fast go wide aggro deck that like I used to enjoy back in the day. Because it's just, you're going to be playing a lot of games. So whatever you're going to play, you better enjoy it. If you don't enjoy aggro druid, I don't suggest, jamming aggro druid. Find something that you enjoy. Play Dude Paladin. Play something that's, aggressive and fast, but something that's fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's super good advice. And I think there's decks like aggro druid is a ridiculously strong deck. I really do not enjoy playing it at all.
Neither do I.
But like, can you hit legend with it? Yep. But you have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, your climb is not going to be, it's not going to be fun. And I think that part of that, there's a lot of psychology here. And if you're not having a good time, you're not going to be as successful.
I mean, we're talking about like when I hit legend on like a day 3, we're talking about I've played upwards of 140, 150, sometimes 160 games. So like, that's a lot of games to put in 3 days. You're going to want to enjoy the deck you're playing all those games. And honestly, if you enjoy the deck, it also helps you get through some of those tilty periods where you're going to have periods where you're going to just like your draw is going to suck. It's a card game. You're going to have some runs where your draw is going to suck or you queue in the bag matchups. And the thing that's going to stop you from swapping decks necessarily to something that Like I think this is kind of my third tip, so I'm kind of like weaving it into my third tip. I wouldn't swap decks until you hit D5. I wouldn't start like playing this like counter queue, like rock, paper, scissors. It's like, oh, my pocket meta, until you hit like a D5 day one. Because it doesn't really take until like D5 day one when you start seeing the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
And you start knowing who you're playing against. Like maybe the first time you played them, like Warlock for me as a secret mage, Warlock for me as a class is a nightmare. Because my mulligan for Warlock, if it's a discard Warlock, I would love to have flame rune, explosive runes. If it's a Q block, explosive runes is the worst secret to have up turn one. Because if they're smart and they see you set a secret and they figure out it's not counterspell, they're going to drop a Void Caller and then you're in trouble.
Learn that one the hard way.
So, and thank goodness this is a dead deck. But back when it was Mechathune, that was also a nightmare because that's a completely different mulligan. So when I see a Warlock, I'm like, oh God, which is it going to be? But when you start seeing the same person over and over and over again, you start to learn what their deck is right when you see their user tag. So you're like, okay, it's this, and it helps your mulligan. So even that little bit of information can help, and that's kind of like my one little taste of like what it must be to be high on the legend ladder, where you're queuing into the same people over and over again. You kind of sort of learn what decks they're playing, unless there's someone like, I mean, Gold Daniel comes to mind because he's, always playing a Warlock deck. So it's like, all right, I'm playing Warlock deck. Great. But, for the most part, you can kind of tell, all right, oh, Corbett must be on his Dark Lair kick. So you can kind of figure out who's who. And the same thing happens day one at D5. You start seeing the same even. You will never see so many even shamans as when you get to Diamond 5 on day one. Like they're everywhere. It's lousy with them. And you learn who they are, and it helps your mulligan, because even shaman is a much different mulligan than big shaman. Like shaman's another kind of nightmare mulligan class until you figure out who you're playing. So I wouldn't swap decks to, let's say, like an Odd Warrior or like a Raza Priest until you hit Diamond 5. Because really, once you hit Diamond 5, you've only completed half of your legend climb.
Yep, agreed.
Especially if you don't have that sweet 11-star bonus.
I am 10 stars for life. Like I've never hit legend with 11 stars. I've never played good enough decks for long enough in a month to ever earn 11 stars, and I probably never will. It's not. I don't want to be that competitive for that long, because I will burn myself out. So.
And then you might get used to it, and then want to always have that 11 star.
And then I'll have like this anxiety. I've got to keep my 11 stars, and it doesn't sound like a way for me to enjoy the game.
Yeah, definitely not. There's just too much other stuff going on that I want to do than like always think about keeping 11 stars. Like, I don't know. I'm good.
Yeah, no, and I think we'd rather enjoy the game, right? The anxiety, it took me a long time to get over like the ladder anxiety in general, just trying to grind for legend. I mean, after doing it, what has it now been like? I don't know, 8 or 9 months in a row, longer than that now. I don't know. Anyways, it's been a long time at this point. And even then, I agree with you. Like once I start hitting that, rank 2, oh, okay. Rank 1, oh God, here it goes. And I still get nervous about it, I never get sick of seeing that beautiful little orange hexagon by my name. But it's still, it's kind of... I don't know what the right word is, but there's definitely some psychology there.
It's still special, and it's so funny because like once you hit it, like I remember, especially because I hit election day this year, right? And I just hit it in the afternoon right before I had to go vote, and I hit it, and it was like this weight was off my shoulders. I was just like, look at all. I'm like, everybody else I was queuing into was like a D4, a D3. And I'm like, look at all these tryhards and how much they're sweating right now.
Yeah.
And I'm playing Charge Priest. Like, it's just, there's just like, there's something to be said. Oh, I messed up some poor Odd Warrior who was on like Diamond 2 and just cruising, like just did not have a good time with Charge Priest. Like, it's just like, there's just something to be said about like, I can do what I want now. It's great. But yeah, and I guess my final tip number 4 would be, and I've underlined this on my notes. This is really dumb, but it's a don't tilt forehead. Just don't get upset. Don't start playing badly because you feel your emotions are starting to get the better of you and you're starting to get frustrated with the game. Understand that it's a card game. That it's a card game with RNG involved. Like with normal card games, bad luck happens. With normal card games with card games with RNG, it's like twice as likely to happen. So just roll with the flow. Sometimes you just go next. And on the matches that you lose, I try to spend more time thinking about when I lost that match than losing the star. If you're thinking more about how you lost the game than opposed to, oh, I lost a star because I lost that game, you're in really good shape. And part of what helps me not tilt is the second article I had you attach, Nate, which was all about these simulations that Hearthstone-net, Hearthstone-net Dex.net. I butchered that, but you guys get the idea. It's Neon Site. He does an awesome job, but he put out this article and it really helped me stave off some tilt, where he looked at different simulations and how long it would take given your star bonus, your win rate, and the number of games you play. On average, how long would it take for you to hit Legend? And the numbers are pretty accurate. At least they work pretty accurately for me. It says the average number of games I should hit should be somewhere between 120 and 200, and I'm usually around 140. If it's a really hot month and I hit day one, I'll have played like anywhere from like 60 to 80. So you can kind of figure out, once you know your win rate, you can kind of figure out exactly how many games it's going to take for you to hit Legend. And as long as you're not tilting while you're playing those games to the point where it's hurting your play, if you're thinking about your play constructively and about how you can improve, and you're keeping your mindset positive, the more games you play, the closer you're going to get to where you want to go, whether it's Legend, whether it's Diamond 5, whether it's Diamond 10, whether it's Plat 5, like, because you've never gotten there before. Just concentrating on improvement and like how you could improve, and knowing that the odds are on your side, that the more games you play, the better off you are. Because I feel like a lot of people, they'll have like a streak of like 2-3 bad games, and they'll say, okay, I'm done for the night. And if you're tilting so hard that that's going to affect your play, that's probably a good move. But I think for a lot of people, like if you're really not tilting that hard, you're just for whatever reason, you're just like, all right, well, I'm done for tonight. It's almost like a double-edged sword. It's like, or I should say, it's like it's bad in compounding ways, because one, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to queue into your good matchups. And two, you're not putting in the games that it would take for you to reach where you want to reach. So like, just sort of saying like, all right, well, I lost a game, so I'm done for the night. It's kind of a bad way to go.
Guilty. I have this thing in my head where I need to be like a 70% win rate kind of player, and it's the dumbest thing. And so like because I've had runs. I had a run when Even Shaman was new, where I posted, I believe it was in Dad Legend, and I was playing Wild. I went like 39-3. It was ridiculous. And like sometimes I have like these amazing days like this, and then I'll come on and I'll play 5 games in a row, and then I'll lose one just before I got rank 5. I'm like, screw this, I'm out. I get all mad about it just because I lost like one game, right? And it's a really bad thing that gets in my head, because like I will set myself up to fail based on like I want to have like you look at Twitter and you see all these amazing win rates and everything everybody's doing, and then you can spend a whole evening just going 1 for 1, right? Like 50% win rate the whole night and just get discouraged, which is a really bad attitude to have, but it does get to me. It's something that happens, and I need to keep in my mind that the game is designed for you to, like, it's supposed to be balanced, which means 50-50. To be an above average player is to, be above that. But when you have those times, that's okay, right? Like sometimes you can go like I've logged on and gone 2-10, right? And you kind of tanked your rank and you feel kind of crappy about it. But having a high expectation and having a goal of, say you're at Diamond 10 and you're like, hey, I'm going to get Legend tonight, and you don't get it, like maybe you set yourself up to fail. And I have done that countless times of giving myself a goal instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to play 20 games tonight and I'm going to try to get better at this archetype. I would tell myself, I'm going to get to this rank tonight. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't set rank goals for myself. Sometimes what I'll do, like, okay, so like last month was probably one of the most brutal climbs I've ever witnessed. Because it was literally, I'd have to call up the numbers, but I'm not kidding. 1/3 of my games were against either aggro druid or Reno priest. Now
Sounds about right.
I was good enough in those matchups. I went 10-9 against Reno priest, and I went 16-9 against the aggro druids. That those weren't my worst matchups. But it's just like it felt like a slugfest the entire way up. But at one point, day one, I was at rank 2 and 3 stars with a 75% win rate. And I know me. I know that I'm a 66% win rate. Historically, it's what I've been with Secret Mage for whatever reason, the matchups, whatever. So I was above my win rate. And I have thought about stopping, but it's just like, no, just put in more games. You'll get closer to Legend. And I ended up finishing the day with about a 55% win rate. So there is definitely there's definitely a time where it's just like, okay, I should walk away and take a break. But like I was so close to getting day one, I couldn't help myself from not trying to push and get there.
That's funny. I want to jump on this a little bit because I'm kind of in the same boat where it was last month I did that. I jammed. I think it was on day 3 I hit. And I was playing, oh God, I don't even remember what deck I was playing anymore. I think I ultimately got there with Q Block. But like I put in close to 200 games. And on my final stretch, I went 10-2 or something like that. 10-2, 10-3, 10-1. It was something like it was a good, solid win rate, right? And so what people need to keep in mind is, when you see these things posted on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, like, of course, I'm gonna post, hey, I just hit Legend. I went 10-2 with my Q Block list, and here's my list, and I hit 300 Legend or whatever, and that's great. But like when I sat down and I looked at that 200 game chunk, 55% win rate. Like that's what it was. And then I looked at my overall win rate, and then we had Smudge on the show not too long ago, within the last month or so, and who is like the Kingsbane expert, right? And she was talking about it, and she pulled up her win rate, and she hits Legend every single month for years. And it was the same thing. She goes, hey, I'm looking at my overall win rate here. It was like 55 to 57%. And so that's very normal. And I think that, are there players who are exceptional? Yes, but can it be done if you take the time to learn the deck, learn from your mistakes, try to not tilt? Absolutely. So.
And I even love this part about that article that you've probably got linked. It even goes through like hitting Legend with a 45% win rate with 10 stars, because streaks do happen and rank floors exist. So like it's possible for you to hit Legend even with a sub 500 win rate, just because odds are if you jam enough games, you're going to get a hot streak. You're going to get there. Not to mention that I'm kind of in a unique position where like I will play in the beginning of the month when I'm doing my climb. I get up to a point where like I've hit Raffle off stream trying to hit D5, like playing a serious deck, like not playing like I hit him playing like odd DH, and like I've heard him play against Secret Mage so often that like I was trying to set secrets that like, what does Raffle think I'm going to play? What do I think Raffle thinks I'm going to play? And so like that hurt my brain. But at the same time, I'm also, since I play some absolute garbage, by the end of the month, I'm playing people who are also still trying to hit legend. And there's a definite drop off in the quality of player from day 1 to day 30. So, like, you could have a 45% win rate, but at the same time, you're still in it, because at the end of the month, there's a chance that, like, the people you're playing against are not the same. They're probably not the same people you were playing against earlier in the month if you were getting your butt kicked at D5. So, like, it's worth it to keep going, even if you're just like, oh, I'm sub 500, I'm never going to make it. Well, no, like, I think the simulation says, like, after like 600 games, you're probably going to get there.
Yeah,
600 is a lot, but if you're playing,
over a month, though. Think about that over a month.
If you're playing an aggro deck, you can do it.
And there you
Totally.
go. Well, all right. Well, let's talk about some Secret Mage then, and shift once more. So, I had asked you this question earlier, and I think you threw it back to me a little bit. But, like, what you've been playing Secret Mage for a long, long time. So my question is, what is the perfect Secret Mage?
So the perfect Secret Mage. I was going to look up your little graphic from 2017 and just give you that definition. But, just to explain what the deck's all about for people who might be new to the game and are listening to the podcast.
Yes.
It's an aggressive tempo-based deck. So that means you're always trying to play for the board. You're always playing minions that are going to stick on board and stick around to do damage to the opponent's face and not die right away. But at the same time that you're doing that, you're also doing what are called targeted draws, where you're pulling specific cards from your deck and you're thinning your deck out, so that later in the game, when you're looking for your burn cards to finish the game off, magically Secret Mage top decks are always good. Well, that's because that's how the deck is functioning, right? You're taking out all the secrets so that late in the game, you're not top decking secrets. You're top decking a Luneth, or you're top decking Cloud Prince, you're top decking Burn to finish the game off.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, your targeted draw, your secrets are, in my mind, the way I use them at least, they siphon tempo away from the opponent. So you're stopping your opponent from doing something powerful or from counteracting something that you were doing on board. So, it's not an aggro deck, it's a tempo deck. In an aggro deck, you're always going face, but you're kind of just sort of unloading your hand. Secret Mage is a little bit more tactical and has a little bit more utility than an aggro deck. It's a little bit better into its bad matchups, but it might be a little bit slower because it's trying to be a little bit more refined in its approach. So you threw the perfect Secret Mage deck at me. I wanted to throw it back at you. What's the perfect Q block deck?
Okay. So here's my answer. I think we were talking about this earlier in the month, right? Where we've got enough cards in the pool now, where any of these decks now, we're looking at, so the decks can have only 30 cards, right? And we've got so many good cards in the wild card pool that my perfect deck now is like 32, 34, 36 cards, right? And so trying to figure out what I'm going to cut, that's the hard part. And so when building one of these decks, like, there's obviously a core. And like you were saying, when you look at, what was core Secret Mage back in 2017 is pretty much still core Secret Mage today, with a couple changes, and we say this all the time, especially on the card review, is with wild decks in particular, like, I think we focus more on synergy than we do on power level, and so the deck has to work really well with the other cards in the deck. And so it's not necessarily what is the strongest, it's like what works well with all of the other cards in my deck. And so still, like with the Q block, it's the same idea, where I've got about, like, my core now, the deck is optimized to the point of about probably 24 to 26 cards are like really solid, and then I've got a couple flex spots. and those change. So I mean, what is my perfect list? I actually brought it. Okay, so here's my perfect list. But you know, it also is like what is perfect for me is not perfect for someone else. Where I've got someone like Paulman who swears on the rat catcher and the sanguinite.
Holy flex with the gold on this list.
Yeah, this is expensive, but
is this the one that you and Gold Daniel came up with?
It is, but I think that there are a couple flex spots in this one too, where you know you could pull out Terran Gorfiand, you could pull out Witch Willow, you could pull out Vectis. You know, but some of it's core, right? I have to have the Defiles, I have to have Dark Skies, Sense Demons, Voidcaller, Cube, the Skull. You have to have the Dreadlords, Mal'Ganis, Voidlords, Gul'dan. Ben would say don't play N'Zoth because it's a bad card, but I like it. But that's like 4/5 of the deck, right? Is like can't change, and then I've got maybe 5 or 6 cards that I like to play that I know the interactions on and why I like to play them. And so like, this is my perfect list, but it may not be your perfect list. I will say that it's pretty much optimized. But yeah, I mean, there's easily like 4 to 6 cards that you could tweak out very easily. So I think that's your point, right? Is that there's no perfect list.
But this is such a big change because the archetype itself, like the deck, is basically unchanged since Saviors of Oldham until this expansion. You're talking about Flame Ward came in, Flak Mage came in, and the deck's weakness to wide boards got shored up. Like Hydra was saying, like Flak Mage won that game against Odd Paladin. Odd Paladin was like an instant concede before Flak Mage was a thing, before Flame Ward was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the deck that I was hitting Legend with the last 5 months, aside from Netherwind Portal, could very easily, like if you sub in Duplicate instead of Netherwind Portal, it was the same list from Oldham. So when you start talking, you get a bunch of secret mages in a room. It's kind of like a puritanical society. Like it's very snooty, and it's just like, oh well, that card doesn't belong there, or that card doesn't belong there, and you get into debates about like who's better, Luna or Polkelt, or like certain secret ratios. But by and large, everybody agrees pretty much what the deck looks like. And what's so unique and weird and different about Dark Moon Fair is Secret Mage got so many good cards, and I'd argue like really solid cards, that whereas like the optimum correct Secret Mage was basically not up for debate up until this point, I think now you're talking about possibly building Secret Mage 4, 5, 6 different ways and it being a good functional deck. I've spent the last week and a half kind of like chopping and changing and testing them all. And while I definitely have types and builds that I prefer, they all work. They're all functional decks. They're all powerful. And I can talk about specific details about why, but that was my point with Q-Block. It's like, you could call up Q-Block on like Neon's site or on like Hearthstone, Hearthstone top decks or something like that. And you could get a bunch of different lists. And some of them, like they pretty much 75 to 80% of the lists look exactly the same. And then it's the flex cards that are different. And that's based on personal preference. So, I think Secret Mage is going to go through this culture shock where it went from like, no, this is the correct way you play it, and anything that you do that's different than this is wrong, to better get used to some flexibility, boys, because I think there's going to be a lot more room for personal preference and flexibility.
Which actually makes it hard to play around certain things when people are all running different cards in it, which I find very interesting.
Yeah.
It used to be like, I used to love playing against Secret Mage. I still do. But like if I'm playing against Secret Mage with one of my other like off meta decks, I love doing it because generally I know exactly where the weak points in the deck are. So I know where to apply pressure. So like it's like very predictable. Like if I'm playing like a line cracker deck, like I'm not even trying for the combo. I'm just waiting for them to Alunith and gaining armor, or I'm gaining just the right amount of armor, or I'm tempoing out my removal, or I'm tempoing out a line cracker. And then when you don't kill it, because you can't, it has 10 health unless you're going to burn a couple fireballs on it. I'm throwing bees on it and throwing that at your face and popping your block early. So like there's like stuff you can do to just kind of like mess with them. And that's going to be a little bit harder to do because right now the builds are kind of all over the place.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, and part of it is, we had a difficult time assessing these cards when we're doing the card review because some of them, like, you don't know if it's good until you've played it, right? We had no idea, is Game Master going to be good or not? Is the new secret going to be good or not?
I knew because I got to play it before it was released.
That's true. That's
the
true.
New secret, yeah.
So it's interesting, right? And then this whole argument of Sage versus a Lunith is an interesting one as well. And I don't think, I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer here. Some of it's preference and some of it is matchup dependent, right? So I spent a bunch of time last night playing with Ben, this Reno Secret Mage deck that he's been playing, and it runs a copy of the rigged fair game, the secret that if you don't take any damage for this turn, you draw 3 cards. And we were seeing so much priest that it was like, of course we're going to play that. Like, you automatically draw 3 cards. But is that good for climbing the ladder? Is it good for a normal secret mage deck? Maybe not. Maybe so. A lot of it, requires experimentation.
Depends on the meta.
Do you want me to get into answering that question now?
Yeah. So let's talk about your card choices a little bit, because I see some of the new cards here. I'm curious. I would like to talk about Game Master. I would like to talk about Occult Conjurer. I would like to talk about your choice of the secrets that you put in this deck, and I would like to get into the Alunith versus the Sage argument. That's a lot of stuff, but
sure.
We don't have to spend hours on it, but I'm genuinely curious. So yeah, let's start with Game Master. What is your take on that card?
All right, if we're going to talk about my list, can I start by just sharing 3 criticisms I've received for my list?
Sure. Of course.
Sure. So the first criticism I have, or that I've received, is I run 2 counterspells and 2 Netherwind portals. Now I'll say this: as a secret mage player, I don't speak for every secret mage player, and what I do might not necessarily be optimal. But the way I play is kind of the way I play, and it's kind of how I vibe. So I'm going to kind of point out places where I might do things a little differently than what might be quote unquote correct than advice, let's say, like a much better player than me, like a Slizzle would give you. So that's one place to start, where some people argue that Netherwind Portal is so good in this meta that having 2 counter spells means you always have a shell on top of it, stopping it from proccing. Criticism I have received from my list is I cut the Cabal Crystal Runner.
Oh, you did? Yeah, no, I see it. It's gone. You monster.
Yeah. I cut the Cabal Crystal Runner in favor of the Occult Conjurer, and I was told Cabal Crystal Runner is too good to cut.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into those 3 criticisms. So getting into those 3 criticisms one by one, as far as the 2 counterspells and the 2 Netherwind portals, that's a fair criticism. But the way I kind of feel about it is I love having 2 counterspells in my deck. It's part of my win condition against Priest is blocking my board, blocking their board clears. And also part of my win condition against Priest is Netherwind Portal. Netherwind Portal, if you want to beat any Priest, you want the secret sauce, turn 1, set a Netherwind Portal. Because they'll do something stupid, like play Penance against like an Arcanologist or something like that, and pop out a 4/4, or a 5/4, or an 8/8 dragon, something dumb, right?
Yesterday I got the Flame Wreathed Faceless, the 4-mana 7/7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, you know what's even better than that? What's better than that is the 5/7 dragon with the +2 spell damage. That with flame runes and fireball is
I
just
got
ridiculous.
That as well. I got that as well.
Or if you get like Dragon's Bane, that's fun.
I've not had Dragon's Bane.
Dragon's Bane is fun. I could get into like a symposium on Netherwind Portal and why it's broken. I literally went through the minion pool and basically rated minions on a scale of 1 through 4. 4 being they have synergy with my deck and they're really good hits, or they're just a pile of stats and they're awesome. One being this is actively bad, and two being I would pay 3 mana for this. I would pay 3 mana for this many stats, and 97% of the minions fall between a 2 and a 4.
Okay.
And 66% fall between a 3 and a 4. So it's like such a good secret as far as like the minion you get, the value you get for the secret. So set that early against Priest. Okay. Then what you do is you set up Counterspell turn 5, and you set up Counterspell turn 7. Because on turn 5, they want to play Mass Hysteria, and on turn 7, they want to play Psychic Scream. And I don't really mind playing Counterspell on top of Netherwind Portal, because how do you play around Counterspell? Anybody, how do you do it?
No, I mean,
you
have
play
to...
coin, you pop the Counterspell, and then you play your board clear, right?
Yeah. And then
but now your mana's gone, and I have a 4/4 on the table. So where you thought you were clearing the board, now I still have a board presence.
Yeah.
So I don't mind Counterspell, Netherwind Portal more than other players. Now, again, that might just be me incorrect in feeling that way, but that's how I feel about it, and I'm not changing it. That's the fairest criticism I think I get.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. It's interesting.
No, I like that, and don't change your stance, because I will not allow this internet presence for people to put on pressure to other people of what they say should be played and what shouldn't be played, because I've played Hearthstone for 6 years, which means I played 8+ other card games physically in the flesh at a card shop for way longer, and it was never like this. So if Johnny Rocket had a deck and he was killing everybody in the shop, everybody wants to have the money to buy the cards he has, but nobody ever critiqued the cards he played. Now, if there are players on his level and they're always meeting in the quarterfinals of tournaments or the finals, now these players who meet in the finals in person, I've seen them discuss why they elect a certain card over another, but not to the degree I see what I see nowadays in 2020 going online, where all these people are just like sending shots and flaming each other for the certain card choices they pick. It's just crazy to me, as someone who's played many other card games for way longer than Hearthstone, that a lot of people let certain card choices that Schmoopie may play or I'll play or Nate or Hydra like move their emotional needle. Like, I think everyone should just ask and try to figure out what the mindset is behind certain cards, and not really come at somebody and be like, oh, well, that's wrong or not optimal. That's just crazy to me. I don't talk like that. I don't rock with that. So I like that you came on here and you explained why you play certain cards. So
that's a really, really good point. I appreciate you saying that, Mike, because we do have some people in the wild community that can be toxic and, will flame you for doing something like that. So that's a really good point. I mean, I'm the guy who played Illidan in Original Quest Rogue. So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Ark Young in chat says, I just like this card is a valid reason. And
yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I like it too. No, I like it too. Prince Liam, right?
Yeah,
damn.
And it's funny.
You're on your own that one.
Mike, you were running your Big Priest list, and I saw you had 2 Plague of Deaths in there. And I was really curious. I was just like, why is he running 2 Plague of Deaths? But then I kind of tried it out. And it turns out palm reading is so broken that if Plague of Death is in your hand twice for 2 palm readings, it turns into possibly a better Psychic Scream, depending on the situation. So and that's a card that people have been saying for years is like too slow for wild. Well, maybe it's not.
Also, for my MMR, just the games that I play, I build my decks based on what's happening to me over a great sample. So I come into a lot of decks where the players I'm playing against, they're just able to create waves upon waves upon waves. It just happens to me. So instead of getting mad, instead of going against the river, I'm going to go with the flow. So I put in 2 Plague of Deaths, and I was able to get Legend 15 and 7. I didn't want to talk back when you guys were talking Secret Mage, but that's what I was going to throw in there. Just climbing a Legend is very much a mood for me. I was at rank 5, no stars. I got tired of facing aggro, built that Big Priest deck, and it just felt good, and I was in a good mood, so it's very much a mood thing. But I put 2 Plague of Deaths because every deck I played against, they build waves. So I got Breath, Spirit Lash, Mass Hysteria, like you said, on 5. Secret Mage players play Counterspell, very smart. Psychic Scream, and then Plague of Death. Like, it seems like a lot of clears, but that's what I go against, and I got the Legend, so I'm chilling now.
Hey, there you go. That's good. I think that's solid advice. So
I'll move on to since I got the Netherwind Portal counterspell argument is like the best, the most fair criticism I've gotten. As far as cutting the Crystal Runners, how much does Crystal Runner cost?
Zero.
Yeah.
You guys say 0. How much does Crystal Runner cost turn 4?
Yeah. No, usually
2.
it's 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
2.
5.
Probably costs 4 turn 4.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's a 4 cost card. It's not a 0 cost card turn 4. It's not a 0 cost card turn 2. It's a lot of times it's a 4 mana 5/5.
Yeah, and I find myself tempoing it for exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm not waiting for it to get 0. You draw it later, you get 0. Yeah, but I'll often play it for 2, 3, 4 mana. I've never played its full cost, I don't think. But
no, that does, like, if you're playing it for its 4 cost, you've already lost.
Yeah.
Like, you're not playing, like, you've lost by turn 6 if you're trying to play Cabal Crystal Runner for its full cost. So like, I don't look at it as a 4. I don't look at it as a 0 mana 5/5. I look at it as a 4 mana 5/5. And a 4 mana 8/8 is better. And not only is it better, but it's split against 2 bodies. And specifically into this meta, which is getting wider, not taller, right? Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of aggro druids, you got a lot of odd paladins. Having 2 4/4 bodies instead of 1 5/5 can make a big difference, because into those matchups, they maybe, if they want to make trades, and if an aggro druid is trading, they're losing. But let's say if they want to make trades, to take care of the 5/5, they're trading 2 minions. To take care of the 2 4/4s, they have to probably trade somewhere around 4 minions, right? That's like, they're not going one-on-one, and they're not good trades. So it's providing more cover to smash dudes, going wide like that. And I cut the Crystal Runners because for 2 other reasons. Reason 1, aside from going wide like that, when I make substitution in my decks, like, I know how my old list would run. I know how my old list would feel. I wanted to keep that same feeling and that same functionality, and I didn't want to mess with, like, ratios. I subbed muscle for muscle. So if Cabal Crystal Runner is the muscle in my old list, then I'm going to sub in Occult Conjurer as the new muscle in my new list. And I didn't look back at that. I see a lot of lists these days. It's very popular to try and run both 2 copies of Occult Conjurers and 2 copies of Crystal Runners. And I'm really interested to see if that trend continues. Because to me, like, if that's what you're doing in your list, you're starting to turn Secret Mage into a mid-range list. And not for nothing, Wild is kind of the place where mid-range goes to die. Like, I understand, like, they're both really good cards. But, like, I will play against opponents who have, like, rigged fair game proc, and I'm staring at a Secret Mage with 8 cards in their hand, and they ping me on turn 3 and pass. And I'm thinking to myself, what is in your hand that you're not playing anything turn 3?
He had the achievement for use your hero power 50 times.
Like, how is your deck built that this is happening to you? Like, what nonsense is going on? I think it might be that they are all jammed up with Crystal Runners and Occult Conjurers are all stuck in their hand, and maybe they've got a Sage in there too, and they can't play anything. But, like, I, like, look at it and I'm baffled. So I swapped muscle for muscle. It also has the added bonus that I included Polkelt in this list. Now, Polkelt's function primarily in this list is to top deck a Luneth.
Right.
And I've always advocated, when it comes to Secret Mage, you need a secondary draw engine aside from a Luneth. That draw engine in the past was either Polkelt or Luna. I've always been Team Luna because I think that she doesn't bury your secrets when she shuffles your like she doesn't shuffle your stuff and bury your secrets. Like, Polkelt sounds like a good idea because, I get my top end and I get all my burn at once. But sometimes, like, when you equip the Luneth, what's nice is you get to sprinkle in some disruption. So, like, as you're waiting for the fireballs to come, you can kind of drop a minion here, drop a counter spell there, drop a flame, an explosive runes here. you can kind of like temple out your disruption so that you're buying time. There's no buying time once you pull Celt. If you don't have the secrets in hand, you're not getting them for a while, unless you built it the way I built it, which is when I pull Celt, I'm not top decking a Crystal Runner when I have 7 mana and the Crystal Runner costs 2. I'm top decking a Lunith every time. So that's the other reason why I included the Occult Conjurers instead of the Crystal Runners, because they're not going to block up my pull Celt draw.
Oh, that's smart. I like that.
And then my last substitution that I made is the standard only card, apparently, that is Game Master.
Yeah, no, this is the one card that like I have not played a lot with yet, or not really, like I'm not quite sure what the upside is. I'm really excited to hear you talk about this one.
So of all the card substitutions I have made, the card that I have been happiest with is Game Master.
Wow. Okay.
Because what he allows you to do is he allows you to be hyper aggressive on your mulligans. And the way that he does that is basically he's acting as a worse Kirin Tor Mage or a worse Cabal Lackey. So worst comes to worst, like I'm really digging for Flak Mage against Odd Paladin. But if I miss and I hit a Game Master and I can coin him out, now I can start my secret building early. Like, for example, with coin, and you can imagine without coin, some similar play styles, just like, turn 3 and beyond is basically going to be the same. But with coin, let's say you put out Game Master turn 1. Turn 2 can either just be play a secret, which is already really powerful, right? You've cheated 2 mana there. Like, now your opponent's dealing with a secret turn 2. Or you can play secret, Cabal Lackey secret. So now you've got 2 secrets up, and a 1/2 that you've developed, and you've got a Rover Croc on board that's already swung face, or traded.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 3, you could play an Arcanologist with a Game Master on board and play the secret it pulls. You could play a secret and play a Medivh's Valet. You could play a secret and then play, you could play a Flak Mage and then play a secret. You could play a Mad Scientist and then play a secret. He does a good job of filling out the early game. And considering that it's a tempo-based deck, and specifically, if you guys think about it, like what I'm building this deck to do is I'm building this deck to hit Legend as fast as possible. My meta and the decks that I see day 1, day 2, day 3 are primarily going to be fast aggro decks. So having a bunch of Crystal Runners or having a bunch of Occult Conjurers clogging up my hand is not going to help me. I want to play for board soon. Blue Train, it discounts the first secret you play to 1. It doesn't pull from the deck. And that is actually one of the downsides, because I cut Ancient Mysteries for him. My deck definitely has less draw than I'm used to. But what I'm sort of gambling on and what I'm sort of banking on, that's a risky strategy, is I'm banking on pull Celt into a Lunith, or just top decking a Lunith to make up for that draw differential. And I'm basically, like, instead of like leaning hard on, let's say, one of the new cards like Rick Fairgame or Sage, I'm leaning hard on a Lunith doing a Lunith's job, which a Lunith usually does a pretty good job of.
Mm-hmm. So what is your normal mulligan strategy? I mean, because it's a tempo-based deck, are you just looking for, the Cabal Lackey or one of the 2 drops?
I've tried to sit down and write a mulligan strategy, and then like half an hour in realized that like it's too nuanced to do half-hearted. So how about you give me an archetype or a class and I'll tell you how I'm mulligan for it.
Well, that's how it works. I suppose you're right, and maybe we don't need to go down that path because, of course,
just shoot a couple at me and I'll give you an idea.
Well, I mean,
that's
my assumption is, I mean, against the aggro decks, right? So you're looking at aggro druid or odd paladin or one of those. Then you're looking more for like your Flak Mage or Flame Ward or that type of thing, playing a little bit more defensively. Where
against aggro druid, I am looking for Flak Mage. I'm keeping Cabal Lackey if I ever have it, and I'm especially keeping Cabal Lackey Flak Mage Secret, or I might even keep Cabal Lackey Secret and then sit on it until and hope I draw into a Flak Mage. It depends on what secret.
Would you keep a counter spell against aggro druid?
It's something I've thought of, and I've thought of more recently, just to block that first and biggin. It's harder to do because they're probably going to burn a coin before they burn the Embiggen, so it might not be worth. But Netherwind Portal, and this is why another reason why I love Netherwind Portal, regardless of the archetype, getting Netherwind Portal down turn 1 is never a bad play, because most archetypes play some kind of spell, and if they play some kind of spell on their turn 1, like let's say they use their coin to tempo out a 2-drop, you're talking about a free 4-drop on turn 2 that can swing phase.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so all right, what about trying to think of what I see a lot in the meta. I'm sure everyone's got different.
You want to ask me about like Big Priest or Q Block?
No, I do, specifically Big Priest. The ones that I'm really curious about are the Warlock decks and the Priest decks, because I think that's what I see quite a bit. So let's talk about Priest, because you have to assume, right? It's either this or this.
Yeah, I actually this is a funny little trick that sometimes works, but actually works more often than you'd expect. Into like a deck like Warlock, I actually use Swaguar's Theorem. If it's a non-golden hero power, it's probably the aggro version, and if it's a golden hero power, it's probably the slower version.
I tend to agree with you there, actually, and him as well.
So that helps sort of form my mulligan. Against Q Block, my strategy is typically what I'd call a 15-15. I'm looking to do about 15 damage worth of minion-based damage. And then I know that come turn 5, turn 6, there's going to be a wall of taunts that I have no hope to get through. So I might as well start relying on burn to do the last 15. So I'm looking to basically do 15 in minion damage, 15 in burn. Ditto for Big Priest, where I'm hard mulligan against Big Priest or Priest as a class especially. I hard mulligan for Netherwind Portal, and that's basically my only hard mulligan that I'm looking for. If I get Netherwind Portal down early, I feel pretty good about the matchup, because inevitably they do something stupid, like they play like a Shadow Visions or something like that on 2, and they give me a free 4/4, and that usually gives me enough pressure to do like an 18-12 program where I'm doing 18 damage worth of minions. And then the rest of it, I'm finishing off with burn over the top. Because again, once they play Shadow Essence, which I can block on 5 with Counterspell, but once they play Shadow Essence, and they start setting up taunts, I'm not chunking through it. So I might as well go over top of it.
All right, I do want to ask about gameplay, right? So you brought up the 18-12. So let's talk about Rashios here, because this is an interesting deck, I think, where the game plan, and I'm hardly the expert here, so let me get your take on it. But my understanding is the game plan sort of shifts at one point. Like, you're a tempo deck, you want board presence, but at some point you shift to like full burn, right? I mean, especially against the bigger decks, if I'm playing against a Priest or a shaman or a warlock, like at some point I'm not going to be able to contest the board, but I've got the burn to go over the top. So like, what is that ratio, or what is that point in the game where you switch strategies from like a board based, tempo based to like burn or more play more aggressively? It
usually happens around kind of naturally. It just sort of happens around turn 6, turn 7. Like, especially for like Priest in general, it can happen between turn 6, turn 7, because that's when Shadow Essence comes out. And like, if I have like one 5/5 to deal with that hasn't sprouted another 5/5, I might have built up an aggressive enough board where I can on 5 bring down a Cloud Prince and blast away the 5/5, and then maybe chunk through a 7/7 with my remaining board, and then do a little bit of damage. And then all I'm really doing is waiting for my fireballs. But in that kind of game, you're trying to get them below 12. And with Priest, that's why I call it like an 18-12 program, because like Priest can heal. So you're really trying to get them closer to like, 5, 6 health. And then when the big taunts start coming down, then you go fireballs over the top. But like, this is kind of my thing. Like, I see people tech in Polymorph Potion into their Secret Mage lists. And I'm kind of puzzled, because people talk about it as like, oh, it's great into Big Priest. And my thinking is like, you're already great into Big Priest. Like, you're already like crushing Big Priest. Why are you teching against Big Priest? You're just, I mean, like maybe it's a third explosive runes, and like that's maybe the best example of like why you would play that tech. But
honestly,
like,
I don't even think it's that great into Big Priest because a lot of times
they don't play their minions; they cast them.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not playing the minions from hand. You're playing them through spells or summoning copies. So I don't think it.
You might nerf a Vargoth or something. Like I don't like it's okay. Like great, they don't have Vargoth anymore. They have a sheep instead. But like I don't know. I might also be derisive about Polymorph Potion because I played a lot of even Secret Hunter in Ashes of Outland, and the number of times Secret Mages would polymorph one of my minions, but then I would fresh scent it and get Sheepthul was like just the best. So like I don't know. It's like do you still? It's not like you remove a board presence. Like in some cases you haven't.
The only thing that I really liked, and maybe this is something else that we touch on here, maybe not as much based on this list, but like actually let's talk about it. The order that you play your secrets in, is the order that they'll trigger, right? And so
no, not necessarily.
No.
Well, I always remember I remember an interaction between Potion of Polymorph and Explosive Runes, right?
Oh, that might be true. But I never play Potion of Polymorph, so I wouldn't know that interaction very well.
So I mean, depending on the order that you played those, right? It would either like if you played Polymorph first, like it would turn your thing into a 1/1 sheep and then do the 6 damage to it and go over. But if you play them in the reverse order, it would hit something and do 6 damage to it and then turn it into a sheep, which is like you don't want that.
You don't want that. Yeah, they don't play nice to each. That's the other thing. Like summon secrets don't really play nice with each other. Like you wouldn't run like Polymorph and like Potion of Polymorph and like Mirror Entity because I think that's how you get 1/1 sheep. Like you just wasted 3 mana. So like
there might be a cost for that.
A lot of the bad secrets I don't even know the interactions because I haven't spent the time to learn them. But like but just generally in Priest or Warlocks, you flood the board early, you try to cover up your board with counter spells, which is why I run 2 all the time, to sort of mess with their removal, and then you're finishing the game just throwing fireballs over top. And like I remember I had a game last climb where I had a Warlock down to 8 health. And I had Ice Block up, and they had Kartut Defenders in play, and I reached a point where I wasn't playing minions anymore. I was pinging and passing and waiting for double fireball.
Yeah.
So like it reaches a point where you're just like, all right, now's the time. And so like once you get them below 12 and you're satisfied that they're going to be below 12, and you also know you're not getting through their taunts, that's when you go all burn.
Okay. All right. No, that makes sense. All right. Then let's hear the argument that we've all been waiting for. Let's talk about Sage versus Alunith.
So, like I kind of said before, I think Secret Mage is kind of in the same sort of headspace as like your typical like strong deck in Wild, like your Q block, where there are arguably like 5 or 6 different ways that you could build it, and they all work and they're all fine. Like Sage is a really powerful card, but 1-for-1 on his own, he does not pick up the draw that Alunith does. And I know what like the big arguments are for not using Alunith. You don't use Alunith because it fatigues you to death. But when I hear somebody argue, "Oh, Alunith fatigues me to death," I can't help but ask myself, and I'm going to look in the camera when I say this: you saw every card in your deck, and you died. Why? How did you lose? You saw every card in your deck and you died? So like sometimes it's just matchup dependent, right? Like if you're facing an armor druid, you're going to get fatigued by Alunith. It's going to happen. Odd warrior, same thing's going to happen. But in like the mirror match, like did they outplay you, or did you mess up somewhere along the line where you misused your burn and now you can't finish them off, right? Like I have a really tough time of like taking the whole, well, Alunith fatigues me to death seriously in an Orthodox Secret Mage. I think in a heavier deck, and we'll talk about, like I know he was on the show notes, you want to talk about Reno versus normal Secret Mage. I think it's become correct to play Sage instead, because it's always harder to dump your hand in Reno Secret Mage as it is. Just because you have so many cards that are powerful that generate value, you can't they don't play nice with a Lunith, right? It's like I used to play Evocation in my Reno Secret Mage, and I realized that was a terrible idea because the spells get discarded at the same time a Lunith draws cards, and you end up milling yourself because they don't happen one then the other; they happen at the same time.
Yeah.
So like there's difficulties that come up. So if you cut a Lunith altogether and you play Sage, typically to pick up the slack, you have to run 2 rigged fair games. Now, my thoughts on rigged fair games. I think it's a really powerful card early in the game. It's a really powerful card early in the game against specific archetypes in particular. Like, I think it really does even the match against Priest if you can get it down on 1. Because you get such a hand refill that you can just overwhelm them with value. I think between that and the Occult Conjurers, see, Raffle thought I was crazy cutting the Cabal of Crystal Runners for the Occult Conjurers because it was better into Priest, right? He's just like, are you trolling? Like, it's just, yeah, it's a 4/4, but they still have Mass Hysteria. Yeah, well, I still run 2 counter spells. But like, you know, the 4/4s don't die to Shadow Words. They don't die to Anduin. They don't die to, Shadow Words and Anduin. So they are going to stick on the board when they armor up with Anduin, as opposed to in the old days where you'd have your Crystal Runners down. Your Crystal Runners are gone. Now a lot of your push is gone. With Rigged Fair Game, the way I kind of feel about it, between Occult Conjurers and Rigged Fair Game, the matchup in the Priest has gotten a lot evener. But the way I kind of feel about Rigged Fair Game is I feel like it's a really fair weather card. If you are ahead, it's awesome. If you are behind, the best utility it can function is like kind of like what Ice Block is now, where it's a way to make sure that your Cloud Princes and your Medivh Valets are always online. Other than that, it's not really doing anything for you. And it's actively bad if you play it with a Lunith. Like, you do not want to run Rigged Fair Game if you play a Lunith at all. Because there's a chance that at the end of your turn, you're going to draw like 7 cards. So you do not want to play the 2 of them together in the same list. So when it comes to a Lunith versus Sage mano y mano, I still think a Lunith is better because you're guaranteed to see every card in your deck.
So what you're trying to say is the one list that I'm running that has Sage, a Lunith, and Rigged Fair Game is too much.
It's probably too much draw.
It's a joke. But yeah, no. The Rigged Fair Game in the beginning, like you said, against Priest, has been absolutely amazing.
It's bonkers. It's a very powerful card.
I absolutely love it. But later in the game, it to me, it's not what I'm looking for. So it's something that you would have to mulligan for based in the matchup. So it's a little dependent. So that one, it's iffy. But I'm telling you, Rigged Fair Game has done me like it's got me some really great wins. But is that just because I was in the right matchup? Probably.
I'm not dismissing it as a powerful card. It's not for me. Because my other take on Rigged Fair Game is that it's not disruptive. It's kind of a value card. Like, you get it down and you get something for having played it and it proccing, but you haven't siphoned any tempo away from the opponent. And you'll notice, at least in my list, I have it like the curve is pretty low to the ground. Another reason why I like Game Master in the list that I didn't really get to is that it's a River Croc. Like, it can trade into dudes early, and it gives you a really strong early board presence into a meta that I'm expecting is going to have like a lot of aggro druid, a lot of odd paladin. Rigged Fair Game might be the worst possible top deck secret you could possibly get against an aggro druid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just absolutely like it might be the worst.
It's got to be meta dependent. Absolutely.
I will say, sure. I agree with your point. You know, we were talking about. Thank you. We were talking about. You had mentioned just a minute ago. Sometimes you would play Rigged Fair Game knowing that it's not going to proc, just to activate your, God, what are they called? Your Occult Conjurers or your Medivh Valet or one of those. Your Cloud Prince. Like, like if I play it against a more aggressive deck, like I know they're not going to proc it, but it sets up my potential turn 4, turn 5. That being said, I I think the other great point that you made is that there's the deck style is so different in a Reno build versus a standard build, that you deal with hand size issues where I like Sage in the Reno version because, hey, I want to draw 3 to 4 cards. That's great. But I don't want to draw 3 cards every single turn because that's too much. Because typically I'm sitting on a much larger hand.
Yeah.
Than because it's not tempo oriented in the same way that a regular secret mage is.
Your 6 drops actually cost 6. It's not like you can. It's not like your 6 drops actually cost, like, by the time a Lunith is equipped, those Cabal Crystal Runners are usually cost 0, but you only really run 1. Now, I will say in the Sage versus Lunith conversation, there is the build that's out there where you run Sage and 2 rigged fair games, and that's a functional deck. That deck totally works. And what's also kind of nice about that deck list that I like is it does run 2 Crystal Runners, so that when you throw down Sage, you're not only getting a 5/5, you're also getting sometimes a 10/10, sometimes a 15/15 in stats, as well as good card draw, digging for your burn. So, like, I think it does become, like, matchup dependent and, like, personal preference dependent on, like, which list you like the best. Like, everybody I've heard who's played the Sage rigged fair game list loves it. Right, I've seen, Ben from work in chat says that he likes that list. I've seen Get Me Out sing the praises of that list. I've seen Martian Boo really like that list and says he likes it better than the Alunith build, and that's fine. But, like, I still think that you're playing essentially 3 cards to do the job of 1. And in a traditional Secret Mage build, you would run Alunith, and then you would run some additional draw engine alongside what would be the normal targeted draw of the secrets. So you would run a Luna or you would run a Polkel because you could chain draws and build a board state, even if your Alunith got nerfed. But
I haven't seen Luna in a while.
She's out there. She's not as sexy as she used to be, but, like, I almost like in my Alunith build, and I almost have put in my deck that I'm going to climb with, and the list that I brought tonight, I've almost put Sage in that list because I do like that. Like, he is such a powerful card. He does draw a lot of cards, and he draws me closer to Alunith, and he does it in a way where he's not burying my secrets. I kind of get, like, the value that I like, where the setup that I like, where my secrets are kind of sprinkled in with my fireballs and, like, maybe my Alunith and maybe my muscle. So I like him in that, like, Polkelt Luna slot in a normal Secret Mage list that also runs a Lunith.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not all that, like, it's not all that sexy to say that, like, yeah, like an Alunith less Secret Mage list works, but it does work. Like, I don't think it's necessarily better than a Secret Mage list with a Lunith. I think it just depends on how you've built the deck and what your personal preference is.
Play what you like. I like it. I mean, yeah. I've seen, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Where I think that this deck comes down to, 25, 26 cards that are pretty much core, and then I've got another maybe 4 that I can swap out. I really like your argument about potentially needing the rigged fair game and Sage to do the job of Alunith. I will say Alunith is a very all-in card. Where once you play it, like, all right, it's showtime. Like, the game now, it has a clock, where previously it may not have. The only downside that I see really to Alunith is, and it has nothing to do with the overdraw issue, it's that I've seen so many Reno decks that there's weapon removal from Zephyrs or from, other sort of weapon removal that people are running. And so you play a Lunith, like I don't play a lot of Secret Mage. I used to a long time ago, and then I had kind of stopped and switched over, but I play a lot of Cube, and I think I will compare a Lunith to the Skull of the Minari in that the turn that you play it is a big tempo loss, but you take that hit for the reward, the next turn and thereafter. So I'm dropping a giant demon the next turn, or I'm drawing 3 cards at the end of my turn. And and it's worth the cost. But if someone then breaks your weapon, like it feels really bad. So
why I used to run Luna over Polkelt is because when I had on one run when Kingsbane was everywhere, it was really in vogue to play Polkelt in your secret mage. And I thought it was a really dumb time to do that, because if everybody's running Sticky Fingers and everybody's running Ooze, Alunith is getting broken all the time. So I'd run Luna instead. And so basically Luna functions as a second Alunith if Alunith gets broken. Where she can, on 10 mana, she can chain together a bunch of draws to set up a large board. And by the way, if I were to play a Luna build, I would not play the Occult Conjurers. I would go back to the Cabal Crystal Runners, because the Conjurers and Luna do not mix well. Those girls do not play nice. So I would probably go back to that. And I would probably also sub back in the Ancient Mysteries if I was playing Luna, because Ancient Mysteries and Luna pair very well. So like I said, nobody's really exploring that build anymore because it doesn't have as many new cards. But that is also a functional build. I am convinced that I could play my same list that I've gotten Legend with the last 5 months. I could play that same list and probably get Legend around the same time, beginning of next month. But, we got new cards and they're powerful and we should play with them, right? So it's kind of like it's such a 180-degree space from the correct way to play Secret Mage, and this is the only way, to it's the Wild West. There's a bunch of different builds now. Get used to it.
Yep.
And let's not forget, you can always, if you're playing a Lunith, you can run Blingtron to kill it.
I actually brought a list of cards that were dumb that I've seen in Secret Mage that are actually objectively incorrect. Quickly.
Yes.
I've seen all these things in Secret Mage, by the way.
Yes, this is why I bring this up.
Yogbox, Yogg-Saron, Amazing Reno. I once had a Secret Mage play 2 Oozes, both Acidic Swamp Ooze and 2 the 2-drop Oozes, like the classic set Oozes, and Sticky Fingers all at the same time. Okay. I guess I'm playing Weapon Mage. It was the strangest thing. And so I like to say that a good Secret Mage, if you're looking to build a Secret Mage deck and you kind of want some direction, there's kind of 4 sections to a Secret Mage deck. There's board minions, which I would include Kirin Tor Mage, Arcanologist, Mad Scientist, Cabal Lackey, and then up to you if you want to do Runners or Conjurers, but basically the minions that are going to compete for the board for you. There's your secrets that are core that I think you want to include now, and then you kind of chop and change at will based on your preference, is Counterspell, Explosive Runes, and Flame Ward. I don't think you can just cut Flame Ward entirely. I think you need to include it. I like having Ice Block in there, but I've seen some people say, well...
The Ice Block one is a difficult argument for me. I can sort of see the other side if you're trying to just be aggressive, but the thing is, it triggers so many things that you have in your deck.
Yeah, once you have it up, you never have to worry about your Cloud Princes unless they flare it, right? So that's kind of the thing.
Well, yeah, I mean the argument for Ice Block is twofold, right? Number one, it's going to proc all of your Battlecry minions the rest of the game. Number two, it buys you 1 extra turn. So
I just think in general it's worth. There's your burn section. So we've done board minion secrets. Burn is the 3rd one. That's your fireballs, your Cloud Princes, your valets, and your Roaring Torch. Something to bring up is some people have toyed with the idea of cutting fireball and in just making the deck more minion based. I think if you do that, you turn the deck into a mid-range deck. And once you do that, you automatically start losing to Big Priest because you do not have enough burn to go over top in most matchups. So I think it's supremely stupid to do that. But people are going to do what people are going to do, and it's worth experimenting and trying out. I don't think it's a good idea.
Experimenting is fun, but yeah, I personally don't like the decision.
And that leads me to your fourth category, which is draw engine. So you need a draw engine, whether that's a Lunith or Sage. It's up to you. If it's Sage, you probably run 2 Rigged Fair games. If it's a Lunith, you probably run a secondary draw engine alongside it, whether that's Luna, whether that's Sage, whether that's Polkelt. It's kind of up to you and how you built your deck.
Okay. No, I mean, you're right as far as the sections go. I think that You're kind of right on the money there. I like the. It seems like there's a couple core builds here. Like I can build it this way with the new cards. I can build it the other way, and neither of them are really wrong. They're just a little bit different. They essentially pretty much do the same thing. I do think that this deck is actually really accessible for newer players because it hasn't changed that much over the years, and the cards are relatively light dust-wise. So what we're running, we went from running only one legend to running two now. So we're either running Polkelt or Luna. We're running a Lunith or Sage, but I don't think that's bad. Most of the stuff is actually pretty inexpensive. So I like.
No, and especially because Sage is a new card, there's a chance if you're a new player, right? They drop free legendaries on, like, you know, there are rewards that are free legendaries. That could be your free legendary.
Mhm.
Like, I don't. Like, what's kind of nice is the build almost has become more accessible because if, let's say, you pack a Sage, like if you're a free-to-play player and you've unpacked the Sage, go with the Sage build. Like, it's a little bit more expensive dust-wise because you have to craft 2 epics in rigged fair games, and you might want to craft an ice block, but, like, you know, the dust level is still not crazy high.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that this is one of those that, like, depending, you could build it differently depending on your collection, right? Which is really cool. So I like it. I like that there's really, I mean, essentially a couple builds that are all still, I don't know what the right word is, good. So
Yeah, they're all I use the term viable.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for. It's been a long day.
They definitely all work. I'm playing suboptimal lists on my other accounts, and they still work.
They still work.
Positive win rate. So
I was actually going to ask if it was if you were still climbing with those builds, and I bet you would, because again, kind of what Nate said, where it's I think it is the most. I think the only other archetype that sort of gives it a run for its money on the Sinner. You know, oh no, my Doom Guards and my Soul Flyers are down the tubes. I do think that Wicked Whispers kind of shores that up for them now. If you're not playing Wicked Whispers and you're discard Warlock, what are you doing? Give it a shot, try it out, because that card is broken.
Yeah, I hear it's good. Hey, Mike, what is your take on? Because I know you've been a Secret Mage player for a long time as well. Hit Legend with it multiple times. What is your, if you have any take on the deck list, or what were you running?
Yeah, so all right, I'll talk on this deck list first. I like the feel of it. I like the explanation on why you swapped out and why you swapped in the 4 slot. When you explain over the size of the 5/5 does become a 4 drop. I know I initially Nate said like 0, cost 0. That's ideally,
but it really doesn't. I mean,
like it does optimally cost 0, but it doesn't always cost 0. On average, it doesn't.
Yeah, like in the dream games, it'll cost 0. But in the 4, so I do like the way this list looks. I want to try it out. The way I play Secret Mage, my objective is to do at the beginning when I first started playing was to do as much face damage as possible, get out of the match as quick as possible, because at the lower rank people are trying to do the same, but a lot of the time people will like do silly things and forget to like lose by 1. So like once you get out of the lower league to the higher league, now you have to start playing next level where you have to hold duplicate until it procs the right mate. And like when you play in platinum, that isn't. I'm just being real. So I like to play burn, get out the match. Like I was playing torches before to get more in my deck, just based on where I'm at. But what started happening was like more Reno decks, more Zephyrs, more Reno, just like more crazy, like more classes being able to like survive, heal, and get back. And like now that you've exhausted everything, they got like 8 cards in there, and they probably got a Death Knight, some other created by cards.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I like when you speak about in a different explanation. You said like play this with like a more of a main focus. because sometimes I have to realize I got to think that way, because when I play a Secret Mage, I just default to everything's going face. Like, I'll think about some interactions, but most of the time, in 3 turns, if I didn't send face and I needed 6, I'm pissed. So,
yeah, I'd have to say most of my games end with double fireball to face on turn 8.
Yeah.
Like fireballs, I always consider are for lethal. They're not for like. Occasionally, there are some really good reasons for using them on a minion, but specifically, what comes to mind is like odd DH. If you see that that Warglaive guy come out, like the 6/4, you know they don't have a whole lot of refill outside of him. I've fireballed him in the past and then tempoed out a 2/3 because odd demon hunter's just not going to kill a river croc as easily as it's not like I'm tempoing out a 2/2. So I've done that in the past, but for the most part, just fireballs are for lethal. Just sit on them, and then when you see an opportunity, burn their face off.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
As far as Sage, I just actually started playing today for the for an achievement. So it was very easy to draw 50 off of the secret, like for the achievement overall. Most of the time, I drew him, and it was a small sample size, so I can't let this be like the end all be all. But I just happened to draw Sage late, so it was like draw 9 cards. And it was like 2 cards in my deck, but I needed the achievement. It was on stream today, so I was like, for the squad, and I just did it anyway. Like,
freaking. But he doesn't fatigue you to death.
No, definitely not. I didn't have the weapon in that list. I just kind of threw it together.
I do think that's worth discussing. Though. Sorry, man. I do think that's worth discussing though. Is that's like, we just talk about how Sage is great, and Sage is always good, and Sage is he's great tempo. He's a 6 mana 5/5.
No, you have to play it at the right time. But that messed us up yesterday.
There are times he is a dead card. Like he is no longer like you have 4 cards in deck and 2 of them are your fireballs and you can't play Sage because you will die to fatigue. Like that's definitely an issue that comes up. And I had something else I want to say. Anyway, that's just something this is what I wanted to say. And the reason why I considered putting Sage in instead of Polkelt in my list is let me put it this way. What's the actual mana cost of Polkelt?
Well,
what turn do you actually play Polkelt?
No, that's the thing. Like I don't want to play him before turn 5. I mean, if I play him on 5 into a Luneth on 6 is good, but I'm not going to drop him on 4 because I don't want a Luneth on 5 because I can't play it.
Unless it's in your hand and you're looking for a Cloud Prince.
Yeah, the only time you're going to play Polkelt on curve is if you have a good enough hand where you can piece together a turn 5, right? You've got a Cloud Prince in hand and you've got a secret up and it's like Ice Block. It's something that's not going to proc. Or you might have Secret Valet. Like you have something where you can piece together your 5 so you can draw Luneth and then actually play it on curve on turn 6, which can be kind of nice. But for the most part, he plays kind of like a 5 mana card, right? So if he's a 5 mana 4/4. If he's basically a barista, is it that much of a leap to cut him and play Sage instead?
That's an interesting take of the ones to swap. I mean, I do like the body. I mean, it's only like a 1 mana difference, right?
My favorite thing about Polkelt is now you know what's happening. Now you know what you're getting.
Well, it's a tutor essentially because you know what he's gonna pull. I want to jump back. Not saying
it's better, but you know what your draws are from now on. Unless, I mean, you got a bunch of 4 cost things in your deck, and it could be one of any of them. But
luckily, the way the deck operates, though, like when you equip a Luneth, let's say you haven't seen any of your high cost cards yet, you're going to get Cloud Prince, 4-drop. Even if a Luneth breaks, your next card is a 4-drop. So you've either seen both your fireballs, both your conjurers, or what's more likely is you see 1 fireball, 1 conjurer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your next draw is either one fireball or one conjure, and it's a 50-50 shot at that point. So like if your turn 7 is you draw the other 4 drop, your turn 8 is you have a 50-50 shot at having basically top deck lethal, right? If double fireball is your lethal. So like that, like even with the Lunith breaking, like it's kind of okay, but like I'm really torn on Polkelt because for the longest time I was down on Polkelt because I don't like how far he buries down your secrets. You start seeing secrets after turn 7, after the draws on turn 7 get you into the 3 drops. So you start seeing secrets again. But I don't think that's necessarily ideal.
No, I mean, and I know you want to mulligan for low cost cards early on, but I will still say even after Polkelt, Mad Scientist will still pull one. Arcanologist will still pull one. So, yeah. I mean, there's ways, but I agree with you. It was funny. Yesterday we were playing that Reno Secret Mage, and you have to be very careful about playing Sage as well because we had it. I mean, he was in hand. I think we had Sage at draw 5 cards, and like I couldn't play it because he was going to burn 2 cards, and so I had to dump my hand like suboptimally so that I could play Sage the next turn. And we draw a bunch of stuff, and I think we ultimately won, but like it like you don't want to necessarily tempo it out. It forces you to you have to work around him a little bit.
Yeah, I find that a lot with the new Mage cards. Like Occult Conjurer, as much as I can't imagine cutting her from my list right now, like I like her so much better than Cabal Crystal Runner, at least in the list that I've built, that I can't go back. But even if I switch to, let's say, Sage, I'd be inclined to, because I think Sage works much better with the runners. I don't think I could cut the Conjurers because getting the 2/4/4s down is so powerful, but you definitely have to play sub-optimally in order to get them to work sometimes. And I feel like Rigged Fair Game is kind of like that sometimes, and I feel like Sage is kind of like that sometimes, where like you definitely there are times where you have to play a little different than you want to play because the effect is so powerful, you go for it. And the only one that doesn't really do that for me is Game Master, because Game Master, if anything, facilitates stuff. So like if you were going to play a secret for 3 mana, you're still paying 3 mana, but you're putting down a River Croc and you're paying 1 mana for the secret. So like it's a worse Kirin Tor Mage, but like he can still kind of fill out your curve, especially if he sticks on board. And he'll probably stick on board. The only thing, like I know we were going to talk about the difference between like Reno Secret Mage and Secret Mage.
We don't have to get into the weeds too much. I mean, they're very different builds. I mean,
yeah, general thoughts. Just like the thing, like the difference between the two builds is, Secret Mage is kind of like ballroom dancing, where like everybody kind of knows the steps, and like there's just it's very formulaic. Whereas Reno Secret Mage is like improv jazz, where like the early game is a lot less consistent. Depending on your build, but like just in general, just the early game is less consistent, and the secrets are kind of an afterthought. Like they're supposed to trip the opponent up, but they're not like the showcase, whereas they're kind of the showcase in Orthodox Secret Mage. Mm-hmm. You're mostly just trying to draw towards like your more powerful cards, like your Kazakus, your Zephyrs, your Reno the Recologist, because like the thing that they do is so powerful that it affects the game. And it's a little bit, it can have more utility and it can be more proactive. So like, that's why like I've seen like arguments, it's just like, well, Sage is better in Reno Secret Mage. So like, why don't you just cut a Lunith? And it's like, well, that's not like, it's like kind of like apples to oranges. Like, yes, they're both fruit, but like they are very different decks.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, I think that's most of the questions that I had here. When I first looked at this, like I had questions as well, but it's been really great talking through it, because knowing the reasoning behind, the inclusions for certain cards, or knowing optimally when to play them, makes a huge difference. Because I think anybody, like, I mean, that's, I guess another point is you can copy a deck list any day, but like learning how to actually play it is something different, right?
Yeah.
Or like, when is the optimal time to play this card? What does it work well with, or what should I play this in conjunction with? When should I wait? that sort of thing. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate the discussion on the deck. I'm looking forward to seeing how this version works. Mostly, like I've played most of these cards myself. I have not run Game Master at all ever because like I'm pretty sure on the card review episode I gave this like a giant right? And I would love to be proven wrong in certain situations if it's great against aggro or like whatever. I didn't think that it was a good card. I called it a worse Kirintor. But if it's something that works, I am willing to say that I was wrong. That's why I would love to see it. I would love to see it. So
it's totally a worse Kirintor, except the thing is like you can still get value off of it if it sticks on board, and it's a 2/3, so it's going to stick on board. And not only that, just into like an odd paladin, like it's a star when it comes to like aggro matchups. Like it can just swing an aggro matchup because you're not waiting to like have the mana to cheat out a body and a secret. You're just paying 1 mana for a secret. So like if you really need to pull the what handle and play a flame ward on 2, you can play a flame ward on 2. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's just he does a really good job of building out the early curve. And I think like people are kind of overlooking him right now because they're kind of like caught up in like the big bodies that Secret Mage can put out. But I'm not convinced that building the deck list towards those big bodies is where the success in the deck lies. I think the success in the deck lies in making the early game so consistent and so overwhelming that you win with fireballs. Like I don't with in a meta that has this much big priest, I don't think having a bunch of 5/5s and 4/4s is going to like seal the deal anywhere. Like I don't like late game. Like I just you're never going to have enough time to play them all.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a shot.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap this up. Do you guys have any other questions or anything before we move on?
I'm ready for this action. Do it.
Okay. Well, Schmoopie, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It was really good to have you. It was great, getting to meet you. So I think it was Naya in Discord said, "Hey, we get Schmoopie face reveal."
Yeah, we see you in Discord all the time, and it's really nice to, get the face to the name, chat with you. It was really
Hydra.
Definitely appreciate it.
Oh man, this has been so much fun, guys. Like I was a big fan of the show, and Nate reached out, and I was just like, "You sure? Me?" I was happy to have the discussion. Like honestly, anytime. I love talking Hearthstone, so like this has been a lot of fun.
Hey,
Awesome.
Nate and Hydra. Before we end the show, let's give the listeners a last juicy story. Schmoopie, let people know how we met each other.
So, I had started listening to the podcast. I'd maybe listened to like 2-3 episodes. And I'd hit legend, so I was doing, what I usually do, which is play something stupid. So I was playing Bolster Warrior with a bomb package, which happened to be really good into Raza Priest at the time.
Yeah.
And I hit Mike Lowe on ladder. Are we still good?
Yeah,
we're good.
Oh, we're still good. Okay, sorry. Whenever I see the picture I freak out. So I hit Mike Lowe on ladder. And like I wanted to be like greetings and like just kind of be like oh man, I know you from the podcast, this is great, but I was playing as Deathwing, so my greetings is kind of aggressive and like a little BM, and immediately Mike Lowe like threatened me twice and started dropping cards. So like then I'm playing like the rest of the game like there is no emote I could send back that's going to be like, I'm so sorry. They don't have a sorry emote anymore, right? Like, so like I don't.
Yeah.
So there's
you play Mayor Noggenfogger. Get it?
So I ended up. I remember I requested Mike. He added me much later, and I was just like, oh man, I wonder if he's still pissed at me. And then I've actually hopped onto his stream since. And I've seen how this guy streams, and like, no, he just didn't notice. It was cool.
All right. So to follow that story,
Mike's side.
my natural demeanor, uh, whenever people emote, I don't take it as like insults or get mad. It's more like sarcasm, because it always reminds me of like whenever me and Sheep used to like play like friendly matches, like we'll do greetings, and then whoever drops the first, like whoever gets to initiate like the first minion on the board, that person will like threaten or say thanks or something stupid, like that's what I always revert to when I see emotes. But I know some people will like emote early in the game, and then if you happen to take over and win and you emote back, you know, a recent opponent would like to be your friend. And like, I just know there's always some seething hot message or anger. So when I heard you say that just now, I put my hand up because it made me think. It's always been my tactic whenever a friend request comes in to let some time go by, because like time heals all wounds. The instant that the rage from that moment will be subsided, hour later, a day later, or whatever. So it wasn't me not adding you right away because of an argument. It was just my tactic. I just let people cool down and then I add them after. Because I've actually met a lot of people that I'm really cool with through friend requests, like adding them way later when they were just like, hey man, like I actually wasn't mad, I just want to say a cool game. But like some people who actually were mad were like, oh well, you top deck some BS, but whatever, but it's cool. I'm like, yeah, it's just a game, I know a few days later you be calm, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
funny.
definitely a good game. It was cool to run into you there. But yeah, definitely a cool dude. Love to see you in chat. Love to see you in Discord. Love hearing you talk about secrets. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate you taking your time out on a Friday night and hanging out with us nerd dads over here. So
On East Coast time, by the way.
Yeah, you guys living in the
East Coast
future
time.
over there in East Coast time. So
We're opposite sides. Me and Nate over here on the Pacific Ocean. You guys over there on the Atlantic.
Next morning is going to be rough. My son is going to slap me in the forehead at about 6 a.m.
That's how it works, unfortunately. But yeah. Thanks again for coming on. Do you have anything that you want to plug, or if people want to interact with you or whatever? I don't think you're not like streaming or anything like that, but I see you in Discord all the time.
I've had so many people ask if I stream that like it's just like, oh, maybe it's probably going to be more trouble than it's worth. No, I'm on the Discord. I'm around Discord. I'm in the Born to Be Wild Discord. If you want to reach me there, I'm there. If you want to reach out and find my battle tag there, you can. I'm in the battle tag section. If you see me on ladder and you want a friend request and say hi, that'd be cool too. I accept pretty much everybody who friend requests me. Like I don't I'm not going to say that I like subside on salt ads, but I find them kind of funny sometimes. So I take everybody.
You're very active in the Discord, and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
because I'm not sure if I'm annoying or not. So just tell me, just be like, yo, Schmoopie, shut up.
Schmoopie, shut up.
You know what? I actually get jealous because last night I fell asleep, and any other night I'm up till freaking who knows what time. And like I wake up this morning and it says like 26 plus or 80 plus messages, and I'm just like, damn man, the one night I passed out, everyone's talking Smoopie's in there and like Hydrolus and Nate, and I missed out. So it's cool to see
me all the time.
So don't think it's annoying. It's cool to see it. I like seeing conversation. It gives you something to talk about.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Hey, Mike, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at MikeLoTV. In my bio, I have a Linktree link with all my stuff going on Twitter at Mike.
Very good. Very good. Hyder, what about you?
You can find me here every single Friday night at 6 p.m. PST on the Born to Be Wild podcast on twitch.tv. And you can find me at Hydralisk_HS on Twitch and Twitter.
Very good. And y'all can find me on Twitter at NateWolfTCG. It's NateWolfeTCG. More importantly, you can find the show at www.borntobewildhs.com. Again, it's borntobewildhs.com. If you go there, it's got links to all of our stuff. So it's got links to our YouTube, it's got links to the Discord, and to all of our other content. So that's what I recommend. Thank you to you guys for being here. Thank you very much to everybody in chat for hanging out with us tonight. It's really great interacting with people. It's, seeing what kind of questions and stuff that you guys have, and just hanging out in general is great. One final thing that we always do is just a sort of a tradition here.
Unrelated advice with Nate Wolf.
Okay, so I don't have any particular advice that I'm looking for tonight, but since I've got the Nerd Dad Clubs here,
well,
I was wondering if maybe you guys would be able to tell me a dad joke.
Can I go first?
You can.
Okay. A pirate walks into a bar with a steering wheel on his belt. And the bartender says, "Yo, what's with that steering wheel?" And the pirate says, "Yarr, it's driving me nuts."
Okay.
Do you not get it? Because it's on his belt. I'm hoping somebody out there got it.
Oh, God. Wow. Okay.
It's my son's favorite. He loves that one.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Chat likes it.
All right. You guys got any? Mike, Schmoopie?
Schmoopie, you want to go next?
Okay, so I don't have a dad joke, but I have a physicist joke. Does that qualify?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so a physicist, an engineer, and a mathematician all share a hotel room. And the engineer has a bad smoking habit, so he smokes a cigarette, puts it out, throws it in the trash can. They all go to sleep. He wakes up in the middle of the night, and the trash can's on fire. So the engineer, being a problem solver, picks up the trash can, throws it out the window, heads back to bed, falls asleep, knowing that the problem has been solved. The physicist wakes up, and the drapes are on fire. Now, he watched the engineer apply a solution to the problem, and he surmises that he could do a similar thing, and it would also work. So he takes the drapes, and he throws them out the window, and he falls asleep, knowing that the problem's been solved. The mathematician wakes up, and his bed is on fire. Now, he's watched what the engineer has done, and he's watched what the physicist has done, and he knows there's a solution to the problem. So he falls asleep, knowing that there's a solution to the problem.
He's just content.
Wow. Okay.
He's just content. He knows.
If you're not in like the science math space, that might not make a whole lot of sense to you, but basically mathematicians don't spend a whole lot of time on problems that already have solutions.
Yeah, so he just knows that it has a solution. He's a mathematician. It's done. It's over with. Why does he care?
All right. You got anything, Mike?
Well, most people wouldn't get it. Like, you don't know if you're in the Discord, but I guess I could say it. It's just that due to quarantine, I'll only be telling inside jokes. Due to quarantine, I'll only be telling inside jokes.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
You can find me on Twitter at MikeLowTV.
Wiser words were never spoken. And you heard that on Born to be Wild.